Yes, good evening, class. So, what have we been discussing in the previous class? We're discussing how ethics versus politics. We also saw ethics versus law. we were discussing how this is also what is the consequence of ethics on human actions. So how ethics influences politics, how it influences law. We said that question has previously come that with respect to the question that why it is difficult to find both integrity as well as ethics in the same person, isn't it? Similarly, you can expect questions on conflicts between ethics and morality, ethics and law. In fact, multiple times question has come. Ethics and politics, where also question has come. You will have the coverage of ethics versus politics both in this as well as in attitude under the topic political attitudes. Isn't it? We said that both ethics and law, they have an interplay with each other. Law is the formal code. Law is the formal code. It is written down, it is codified. It enjoys sanction of the state. If law is violated, what happens? There is punishment by the state. There is clear-cut penalty or punishment by the state. On the other hand, ethics has societal sanction and societal acceptance. It is not formalized. It is not formalized. It is a social expectation from the individual whether what action is right and wrong. Law may say that we must demolish the buildings which encroach on government land, and let us say that land is full of people who have built their homes. They have encroached on the government land. But you, as a young officer who is asked to demolish it, you find that people are opposing it. Are they opposing the law? No, they are championing the cause of societal morality. That if a poor person has accumulated his lifelong savings into building a house, then his rights be better protected. They are not opposing the law, but they are saying, while it is not against law to break those houses, it is promoting the cause of law. It would be against ethics. It would be against the cause of ethics to break those houses, which is why there will be social opposition against it. And God forbid if you go, so when you do this, when you follow the law breaking such houses, then what may happen? You may have to face social sanction. People may not like you. You may feel some sort of social ostracization. And we said that the three kind of relationships that can be there between ethics and law, that sometimes law may cause ethics to develop, such as we believed for a very long time that matters with respect to inside the family were not subject to state intrusion, isn't it? Such as what should be the relationship between a man and a woman. What do most people feel? Most people feel that it cannot be guided or regulated by state or law. It should be left to societal ethics or societal morality. Today, at least on one issue, the state has not had developed the courage to bring a law. On most, yes, very good, correctly identified as marital rape, isn't it? On other issues such as domestic violence, such as does a man have a right to beat his wife? Domestic Violence Act prohibits and makes it a penal offense. Prohibition of dowry. Can a man demand money or any other gifts as a precondition for marriage? That is prohibited under law. When these laws were brought, then there was a massive social opposition to it. Why? Because they felt that it goes against the cultural practices. Society may have its own justification for these practices. Do you think they would have cheered and clapped for such laws? No, they would not have cheered and clapped for such laws. While in the national capital of Delhi, this law would be celebrated in the parliament and across a good global media coverage would be there. The MPs, when they would go back to their respective constituencies for months, they would not have come out because people will ask, how could you, on behalf of us, pass such a law? On the issue of marital rape, the Supreme Court on multiple times has asked that the government to clarify its position, that please tell us what is your position on marital rape. A large number of countries most countries do not criminalize marital rape. And a large number of people feel that, among other reasons, one reason why this remains a contentious issue is because they feel that state has no rights to meddle between the affair between a man and a woman, and already state has intruded too much into our personal lives. That is one aspect. On this matter, several times the Attorney General has been called, and at one point the Attorney General gave the reply that when it was asked what is the government's position on this, then what did the Attorney General reply? Anybody remembers? The Attorney General replied that the Parliament will deliberate on this and frame a law. To which the Supreme Court said that Attorney General does not represent the Parliament. He represents the executive. I do not want to know what is the parliamentary intent. I want to know what is the executive wish. And therefore, you tell me what the government is saying. Right? So there was a certain reprimand. The government developed cold feet that in the middle of all these things, if we bring such a law, governments being governments under democratic pressure, they felt that if this law is not accepted by the society, then what we'll have? There'll be unrest among the individual, and that will reflect in the society. Think of a large number of people who feel that such a law would be unjust. Will there be inner turmoil or not? Will there be inner unrest against such a law or not? This will culminate into it could be lead to a civil protest. Such laws can lead to overthrow of governments in the next election. Elections are often fought on single issues, not on broader issues. Generally, one issue will hijack the whole electoral agenda, and you do not know which one will become your graveyard, political graveyard, right? So we discussed this. We also said that we also said that ethics has a great deal of role in framing laws. Ethics also has a great deal of role in framing laws. What are some things that ethics does? You know? Ethics influence on law. So it both will influence each other. You know, when you make a relationship diagram, ethics influences law and law influences ethics. You always make this diagram. How ethics is going to influence law? It will bring in ethics, as you've already said multiple times. This yes. Tell me how what are the good things that ethics does to law? One is you can say, sir, it makes law more compassionate. Does it not make law more compassionate? Isn't it? If you see, it is ethics that provides for doctrines of presidential pardon. Isn't it? Presidential and gubernatorial power, presidential power. Isn't it? Ethics, again, it will, how does it influence law? It champions or brings forth the cause of social justice, samajik nyay. As we said, affirmative action, reservation for women, all these things it can do. Yes. Doesn't make it arbitrary. No, we will not be able to say that because ethics is generally more arbitrary than law. Law, when we say that law should not be arbitrary, it means it should not change. They should not be arbitrary, it should be uniformly applicable. The problem with ethics/compassion will be that it requires one to make exception in law. Right? The cause of ethics, it provides for one role. How it does is it provides for exception in law. On what grounds? It provides for exception in law. On what grounds? On humanitarian grounds or on grounds, yes, you can say that unequal should not be treated as equal. Isn't it? Ethics has led to or leads to emergence of new discourses. think of any new discourses. Let us say in the context of environment, what are some new discourses that have come up? Because ethics has brought it. We have discussed this one. Right to add, right to adverse effect on environment. See, on environment, it is ethics which has led to new discourses and new ideas. ये बात ही पहले नहीं होती थी. Such as, for example, yes, common but differentiated responsibilities in the field of environment. Where is it coming from? Everybody should reduce the usage of carbon. India says, yes, it is a common responsibility, but differentiate. West has to do more. Why? Because they have polluted more. Isn't it? New discourse such as extended producer liability. Are you aware of this? You make mobile phones, and now EU says that if you make mobile phones, it is your liability to ensure that it is recycled properly. It is not your liability, is not just limited to making the phone. Your material should be recyclable, isn't it? New discourses on, for example, climate change, on climate adaptation. Everything and anything that new discourses that is with respect to environment. In other fields you can take, such as techno-economic problem. A question has come on this. We have discussed what are techno-economic problems. 4, 5-ish areas are there. The class online students, do they remember what are 4, 5 areas of techno-economic importance? Economic changes brought in society and thereby social changes because of advent of technology. We'll have to study them. एक भी topic बताओ. Okay, fair enough. Cyber security. More than that, we have done one of the topics. Social media. Very good. Now come to it. Social media. Second. Artificial intelligence. Third. Driverless cars. I have given in the syllabus outline on the first day. Fourth. E-commerce. Isn't it? Fifth. EdTech. Huh? Green economy. Gig economy. Yes. Sixth. Gig economy. So it also leads to new discourse or new idea. For example, in the field of AI, it talks about a new stream of AI ethics. Isn't it? It talks of AI ethics. What should be the ethics that guides artificial intelligence? In the field of, and we'll discuss this topic in detail, in the field of, let us say, gig economy, it promotes or champions the cause of or rights of gig workers. You will hear the industry will go into a shock every time government will say, I am going to bring a law to regulate it. And the industry, what does it feel? It will kill the gig economy if the government tries to bring a law. Gig workers' rights and protection, the minute the government, there is a feeling. Why will it lead to killing of gig economy? There will be certain restrictions, because of which what will happen is that the ones who are exploiting, they will be able to find loopholes and be able to maneuver it, and the ones who are going as per compliance, they will be getting trapped. Gig economy benefits companies, but it also benefits employees. It also benefits consumers. You are able to order some food for yourself because you are benefiting from gig economy. But the government will say now you have to give PF, ESI, which will require that how much you are paying the gig worker, you will have to pay that much to the CA, almost the consulting firm which will take care of the compliance. The company feels that instead of this compliance, let me give the money to their position will be that let me give it to the gig worker. The government says the compliance. Now you have KPMG saying I'll provide the whole consultancy for ensuring you have compliance with government norms. Pay me half the money to, instead of paying the gig worker, the company will say, let's split this cost into 2 halves. So let's give to the consultancy firm and the other half to the gig worker. Now the gig worker will cry again, कि पहले ही मैं खुश था. Right? In the field of gig economy, in the field of driverless cars, in the case of driverless cars, it new ideas on liability for actions of autonomous machines. Liability for actions of autonomous machines. What is the central ethical concern in any autonomous machine? Central ethical concern in any, who will? Yes, very good. The whole ethical debate is, including AI as well as this, there is single point, ethical convergence. Convergence is on one single issue, that behind the machine or autonomous vehicle, including an autonomous weapon, whether including in war zone, whether to pull the trigger on another man, was it a machine decision or a man decision? It has to necessarily be a man decision. It should never be a machine decision. If that is you're not able to fix in your regulation, that if the machine will decide and not the man, then what will happen? You cannot blame anyone. And once this is the central key ethical concern in autonomous vehicles such as driverless cars, in autonomous weaponry, that is the key discourse, key question, that when the life of another individual is concerned, whether the decision was taken by a machine / an algorithm or by a human, because then you can fix a human responsibility. On the other hand, if you let corporations create algorithms and machines such way that no human was responsible for that decision, then that is how we said that why the extinction of civilization in the end will be caused because of a failure of ethics. Because now globally it agreed that an autonomous weapon is intelligent enough to decide who's a terrorist and who's a good man, and let no human make that decision. The minute we decide this, that artificially intelligence autonomous weapons can be unleashed on any part of the world, and that is the pathway to destruction of civilization. So the civilization in the end will be destroyed because of a failure of ethics. ये रहेगा. है ना? It has techno-economic problems, driverless cars, any other sector. So ethics champions these causes, leads to emergence of new discourse. Ethics helps, है ना? It also helps us in, for example, it also helps in guiding law in completely new areas of regulation. You have been championing free speech. Now there is social media. Our constitution makers did not know that we will be living in an age where they are so keen on preserving freedom of speech and expression. There will be a time when anybody can go on the wall of Prime Minister of the country, write 5 abuses and close his account, and right, they did not imagine. They felt that if somebody did that to the Prime Minister of the country, the police would arrest him. Right, so they protected, है ना? So that citizens' criticism of the Prime Minister of the government must be protected. So they came up with elaborate provisions how those things should be protected. They did not envision a social media where anybody can go and abuse the Prime Minister, President, close his account and disappear. Fake email ID, fake phone number and fake IP. And now you don't know who has said what. Right? So this social media is a new arena of regulation or not, which you don't know what to do. Currently also we do not have clarity on what should be done. You will see that a few years ago, around 7-8 years ago, the government said to WhatsApp that you will need to have one officer here who will be liable for your actions. You have a big market here. He'll be, the word was chief compliance officer, I think, or maybe. So 2-3 people from the Harvard educated people came, and 48 hours they used to resign because the government said that he is responsible for compliance plus any mob lynching would happen. So earlier, about 2017-18 was a phase where WhatsApp forwards were very popular. These days you don't get that, Shubh Prata and good morning. But that was the time where WhatsApp had become extremely popular. So you could forward good morning to the whole phone book. Now there's a limitation. You can't send more than 5 forwards. But people, uncles, aunties used to wake up and send good morning. Aaj ka din shubh ho. And you are done, your inbox is full. But what was happening in rural India, when I was working, we had this huge fear. There was a Pila Batti ka gadi. The benefit was when you go to a village, they won't attack you. है ना? At least because they know that it's a sarkari gadi. Otherwise, raat mein you are going for some operation, potentially you have been operated on by the people. So that time, news was spread that child thieves have come in the village and people will come and beat you. तुम बताते रहोगे कि मैं पदाधिकारी हूँ, वो मानने को तैयार रात का समय है, सुबह से कहेंगे वो सॉरी पीट दिया सबको, right? So these things were happening, at which point government asked WhatsApp to have a chief compliance officer, and that is when the government said pull the plug. I'm not sure if they have globally implemented it, but in India you can't send it to more than 5 people, because what was happening, and two things they said. First is ye forward ko roko. Second is I want to know the origin. On the origin front, the social media companies have said it is not possible for us to trace the origin of a message. कि पहला मैसेज किसने भेजा कि घर है ना गांव में बच्चा चोर आए हुए हैं, विलेज इज हैविंग चाइल्ड थीव्स, राइट? दोस प्रॉब्लम्स हैव in completely new areas of regulation, such as, for example, you can say social media, space, how space should be used, global commons. It is ethics that is preventing companies from not capturing Antarctica. It is a global common, which means it belongs to whom? To the whole planet, not to any one country. The Australians cannot claim it. South America cannot claim it. The whole world would claim it, right? Any area, new area of regulation, it is ethics that will promote all these discourses, isn't it? So this is how ethics will help in making law more compassionate, more inclusive, and thus ethics will champion the cause of good governance also. Can we say that ethics will champion or promote the cause of good governance? It will make law compassionate, inclusive, equitable, which are necessary criteria for good governance. All right. Let us take some dimensions of ethics. This is meta ethics. Is my handwriting legible? मेहनत कर रहा हूँ हैंडराइटिंग पे, क्लास भी ज्वाइन कर ली अब तो. Comparative ethics. This is also known as descriptive ethics. It focuses on what is. Normative ethics will be what do you know by the term? Mohit is asking question that joining handwriting class is worth it in mains if you have readability issues. Mine is readable, by the way. If you have readability issues, then you do it. People have done it before, and not one. I would not say that number is in double digits with whom I've been in touch, but people, at least 7-8 people are there who have taken handwriting classes. They've used it after getting service also, and then they have gotten IS. People do amazing things. So Mohit, do not. It will be up to. No, we do not provide, but there are so many teachers here. Yes, what is no analytical ethics will be. इस पर नहीं होगा ये. Ethics will be meta ethics, also known as sometimes analytical ethics. Now, what is meta ethics? What is meta? What does the word meta mean? Yes. So, so you think of it. For example, you have this common word metaphysics, right? Metaphysics. So, what is physics? Physics deals with the physical world made up of atoms. But then somebody, young student, says, "Sir, is God made up of atoms?" And if they ask this question to Lord Buddha, what would Buddha say? No, it was not Madhyam Marg for Buddha, have he or nahi. That was not what he said. He simply kept quiet because he said that it is not possible for me to make any comment because I cannot verify it. Even if I say he exists, the God exists, there's no way to prove it. And if I say does not exist, then also no way to prove it. So he would keep quiet on such metaphysical questions. He would keep quiet on such metaphysical. What does the word metaphysics here mean? Beyond physics. Beyond physics. Is God, soul, Atma explained by physics? No. You tell the scientist that when the person dies, the soul leaves the body. Then he will say कि अच्छा तब तो weight कम हो जाता होगा. Then you will have no answer. So you'll say कि it is not physics, it is metaphysics. The soul has left the body. है ना? The physicist will say, okay, did we have some decrease in mass? Did the volume decrease if something has left? Then you will say, no, the soul has no mass, the soul has no volume. It is shapeless. Right? So this is what is. Now, why meta-ethics? Meta-ethics, basically, when you say it means beyond ethics. This branch of ethics or this dimension of ethics, what does it talk about? It talk about, so let us say if you have to make a commentary on planet Earth, and you say that, I ask you, what is the color of our planet? Yes, young lady, what is the color of our planet? He says, very good. We call it the blue planet. There is no way to know that what is the color of this planet unless you are on some other planet or you are some other. But sitting on Earth, you cannot say this. What is the color of the planet? It means that to make an observation about A, you should not be on A. You have to be an observer remote from A. Then you can make an observation. Just like when you come with your scorecard, you may be having certain perception of how you are doing. But a teacher who is an independent observer, he will be more realistic. He will be more objective in your assessment. Nahi to in your universe, you will be winning Nobel Prize every day for your preparation. Isn't it? But when you see it from a distance, and immediately, not just a teacher, but you may have a certain perception because you are getting these ideas from your antahkaran or inner mind. But if I ask you to judge person B's preparation or copy, now you will have a very good opinion. You'll be easily able to say that this person is doing well or not doing so well, not by looking, but by reading what they are writing. By looking, if they have pretty handwriting, you'll be fooled into thinking that they are doing very well. But when you read the sentences, then you will come to know how they are really doing. Why are you able to make that observation? By being inside the person? No. By being away from that, making that observation from a separate vantage point. So similarly, if you have to make some commentary on the nature of ethics, or whether this ethics is a whole imposition by some ruling elite on us, it is famously said that law is a weapon of whom? Write down a line, NOT note. Law is a weapon of the strong against the weak. Law is a weapon of the strong against the weak. Semicolon. Moral, law is the weapon of, you can also say law is the weapon of oppression, of the weak by the strong. Law is the weapon of the strong against the weak. Semicolon. Morality is the tool of the weak against the strong. Morality is the tool of or the weapon of the weak against the strong. Isn't it? How does the strong oppress the weak? By saying the law says it. Why? Because you're strong, you make the laws. But it is not one-sided exploitation. The weak also exploit the strong. The weak will also exploit the strong by saying that while it is not in law, but it is in morality that you help me. Isn't it? While it is not in law, but it is strong sense of morality. We always say that when we are talking of, when the West says you need to pollute less. produce less carbon. We talk about common but differentiated responsibility. Now it is gone. It was a part of the Kyoto Protocol. Now we have a Paris Agreement, and then a lot of developments have happened after that. This doctrine is now fully diluted as of now. ये negotiations का part नहीं है, and this doctrine was at a point when India and China were converging at least on one global issue, and that was climate change. Two developments have happened on the front. India and China are no longer together on the front of climate change as of now. Two developments have happened, three developments. One is that China has said that I will not be using developing. अब मैं गरीब देश नहीं हूं तो तुम पे भी प्रेशर आया. पहले यूएस कि ठीक है पैसे वाले लोग भी गरीब कह रहे हैं तो मेरा तो साथ में पास हो जाएगा. Right now, China has said that I'll be not using the developing. I don't need any concessions from the West. That okay, I'm a poor developing nation. Second is China unilaterally declared what is called INDCs. What is that? Nationally determined contribution. They unilaterally said that we will be reducing carbon footprint by this much. So मजबूरी में इंडिया को भी करना पड़ा. उसके पहले क्योटो प्रोटोकॉल के अंदर द डिबेट वाज हम अपना कम, वी विल नॉट रिड्यूस इट, वी विल वांट द वेस्ट टू हेल्प अस रिड्यूस. सो वेस्ट की मुझसे क्या चाहते हो? देन वी सेड $100 billion ग्रीन फंड. वो नहीं बन पाया. That did not happen. So $100 billion green fund was one of the outcomes during Kyoto negotiations, that they will fund it and that will be used to three things we demanded. One was cheap technology, such as nuclear technology, for example, which is much greener than coal-based power plants, to which the West is non-committal, because West means they are not a united bloc. Japan is separate, Europe is, and US, though they unite on most matters, but we were able to get some concessions, for example, from Japan with respect to the nuclear technology, where we say that we'll use nuclear fuel for what? Civilian purposes. Indian nuclear generates nuclear power. India has a nuclear power, but it uses it for civilian purposes. Isn't it open to International Atomic Agency regulation? कि अगर आपको देखना है, देख लो. We are not building. Whatever is our weaponry, nuclear weapon, declared weaponry, it is declared. It is not that silently we are building nuclear weapons to wage a third world war. We are using it to generate energy and for poverty eradication, because poverty eradication will require energy. It requires resource. Energy is a resource, isn't it? So right on, meta-ethics is a branch of ethics which discusses the fundamental nature of ethics. Fundamental nature of ethics. You can say, while normative ethics studies what should be good, within inverted commas good, what should be good / moral, what should be good / moral. Meta-ethics studies what is good or moral, within inverted commas, what is good or moral. Did you lose me? So while normative ethics studies what should be good or moral, meta-ethics studies what is good or moral in itself. मतलब कुछ अच्छा जैसी चीज है भी क्या, दिमाग में भूसा भरा है. This is what meta-ethics will say. Right? So normative ethics, do not be worried about this. Meta-ethics or analytical ethics, normative ethics. So normative ethics, whenever you hear the term, you think of it, what is the norm? All right. So what does it do? Normative ethics is prescriptive in nature. Is prescriptive in nature. ये होना चाहिए. This should happen. Normative ethics is prescriptive in nature. It discusses what ought to be or what should be. What ought to be or what should be. For example, some sub-branches or sub-dimensions of normative ethics are, for example, two major dimensions: consequentialism deontology. And virtue ethics, consequentialism, consequentialism, deontology, deontology, and virtue ethics. So if normative ethics is prescriptive in nature, what should be? What ought to be? Comparative ethics or descriptive ethics? It is descriptive in nature. It discusses the primary question, what is actual the status of morality in society. It discusses what is within inverted commas. What is. It has two branches, ethical relativism. What is an ethical? You can say absolutism, or you can say, uh, relative के terms हैं, or you can say ethical universalism. We have already studied these two. Yes or no? Ethical relativism says that there are no permanent, fixed, rigid moral principles. Morality and ethics are relative, and therefore all moral rules are relative. This is ethical relativism. I say do not cheat. Ethical relativist, one of you who is an ethical relativist will say, sir, in UPSC cheating is not a bad thing, but in class test we can cheat because this is a form of peer learning. It is not a real examination. So an ethical relativist will justify cheating in the class test, saying that it is not the real exam. An ethical universalist, on the other hand, will say that cheating under all conditions is wrong. It's not in the test as well as in the actual exam, isn't it? And then we have applied ethics. It is sometimes called the practical branch of ethics, ever expanding. Why it is ever expanding? It is called the practical branch of ethics. It is called the practical branch of ethics or moral philosophy. It deals with application of moral principles. It deals with application of moral principles. Application of moral principles to our world or day to day to our world. You can simply say to our world, such as it will deal with issues of what is professional ethics. It will get into the question of euthanasia or mercy killing. It will get into the question of capital punishment. It will get into the question of abortion. It will get into emerging new questions of AI ethics. Shriya, strong, powerful is equal to universally immoral. I did not get your question. Can you frame it better? So when I have said that morality is the weapon of the weak against the strong, a lot of political thinkers and philosophical thinkers argue that it is the tool that the poor and the weak have always used against the ruling class to oppress them. That is what they argue. So for example, if you see, a lot of people think that if India had gone for a violent overthrow of British rule, then we would have achieved freedom early. How many of you think like this? It's okay. Anybody thinks like that? और बोलो सर इन बातों में सोचते भी नहीं हैं हम, कुछ और ही सोचते हैं दिन भर. Anybody who thinks that we could have gone for a armed rebellion against the British? Or for example, some people also argue that the path that revolutionary had taken, and Gandhi did not support the revolutionaries. Some people think like that. But if you see till the Second World War, there are several aspects to this question. It is a bigger question, whether should India have gone for an armed conflict to overthrow the British. There were 2-3 dimensions to it. First was why Gandhi would not support the revolutionaries. Because he had conviction in his own philosophy. He said that I have to do it. But more than that, until the Second World War, the United Kingdom was a superpower. a superpower like history had almost never seen before. There were superpowers before, but they were limited in their territorial expansion. This was a superpower that had a pan-globe power projection capabilities until it was decimated in the Second World War. And technically, with the coming up of new technology, that was the nuclear technology, when it was relegated to a secondary position to the United States of America, it was a superpower. And no major organized country could have defeated it, leave alone a group of unorganized states that were not common in any identity. So that was one reason. But more than that, we also believe that if an armed rebellion would have happened, then it would have allowed for the use of armed forces and the use of weapons and use of weapons in struggle against the government where the people to be dissatisfied. This was completely delegitimized in Gandhian politics. I repeat, Gandhi did not support, for example, the Hindu Fauj or any other armed rebellion or armed war against the British because of, among other reasons, one reason was also that he knew that if he allowed this and if a freedom were to be achieved, then it would simply legitimize use of such armed forces where the people to be dissatisfied with the government. This today reflects that if you look around yourself right from your west to your east, look at the map of India where you're seated. You are full of failed states all around you. There is conflict, civil unrest, rebellion, and they are war-torn areas. To your west, you take a look at whether it is Pakistan to Afghanistan to Iraq to Iran, whatever is the position there, until the final stability will be fine. In Middle East, you have no, until you have the arrival of, for example, the Dubai and there where you have some authoritarian regimes where is peace. And in the East also, you have similar positions. Into your north, you have chaos, and to your south, you have chaos. So if you see, and all of Africa, they are not exactly very good examples of stable polities. Few years, sab kuch theek chalega, then 10 to 15 years, suddenly some whole overthrow of government will happen. Let us, whether you take it Egypt, Tunisia, or any North African state. So we were not very different. We were the third world that were last to, we were the third world. So do you see that when he did not accept this, he delegitimized any armed struggle, which is why in post-independence India, you will see that the popular support may be there for the Naxalites cause, such as what the current discourse is, what is known as urban Naxals, which means they provide intellectual and moral support to the armed Naxals, but they themselves are not armed, such as professors, academicians. So the support may be there, but the popular support, is it to the Naxal cause? It is not there. Why? Because, not because of any other reason, because they have picked up guns. But you will see that popular support will be for anything that opposes the government, such as assembling in Ram Leela Maidan or in the India Gate. Because popular protest and political opposition to the government and gherao, pradarshan, dharna pradarshan, these are acceptable parts of ways of opposing the government. And they are acceptable. They are a part of the Gandhian politics that we have been doing for the at least 3 to 4 decades before our independence. Okay? Anyway, so euthanasia, all these matters, these are matters of applied ethics. We have seen that one source of ethics has been, we'll get into this, consequentialism and deontology, but before that, let us take one topic which we have missed, religion versus ethics. Or you can also say God-based ethics. We discussed that religion is an important source of ethics, isn't it? So let us see what is the debate in God-based ethics. I have given you a table of content on first day that what we will teach. So don't worry where you did you make a table? A table of content में क्या क्या पढ़ेंगे इस topic में? Did we, yes or no? So look at that table so that you know where we are navigating in the, because you have to not just study everything, you have to study from where question will come and where the discourse is there. Means just cheese per first day I made a tree diagram that will study key terms, then approaches, then the key debates that are there in ethics, isn't it? I gave you. So that table is your mental mind map that what is the syllabus. Otherwise, you will study everything, and then when question will come, then you don't know why this question is asked. All right. So here in this, the primary debate here is that one of the sources of ethics is God / religion. I have already showed this, isn't it? And the primary discourse is that is ethics or religion a reliable source, religion or God a reliable source of ethics? The primary debate is God or religion a reliable source of ethics? That is the first one. What is the second question here? Is God or religion? Second question here is it possible to be ethical without God or religion? Right? Is it possible to be ethical without God or religion? Yeah, these are the primary debates. The first debate is God / religion a reliable source of ethics? And second debate is it possible to be ethical without God or religion? And third is the nature of relation between God and ethics. Third is the nature of relationship between God and ethics. Whether God made ethics or ethics makes God. Okay. Now, before we delve into this, Mohit, you are correct. Very good point has been raised by Mohit that, sir, that non-cooperation movement and civil disobedience movement, which were less confrontational, were called the grammar of anarchy. This is very true. Okay. You will realize that most governments will want that ये जो रोज धरना प्रदर्शन हो रहा है इससे बढ़िया you come with arms, fight and sort it out for once. Because this धरना प्रदर्शन घेरा हुआ है, ये बंद करो, वो बंद करो, नहीं चलेगी, नहीं चलेगी. And in Bengal, cholbe na. This creates more anarchy than an armed rebellion. So you are correct, Mohit. It was criticized that, this non-cooperation movement and civil disobedience and satyagraha, these are known as the grammar of anarchy. It is said that Gandhi was an anarchist. It is said, yes, it is correct. Why was Gandhi an anarchist? Yeah, because he felt that the state, an organized state, was not necessary. The society could very well live on itself without an organized state with all the organs. He did not believe a lot in, he saw his state would be a tool of organized violence. Anyway, so before we begin this discussion, did God make man? Yes or no? Be open. Yes, young lady. Did God make man? What do you think? Why do we believe that God made man? Okay. And how many of you believe that man made God? Yes. So it is sometimes said that two things are said. One is that at first it was said that God made man in his own image, which means God felt that I look like this when I'm making man, my most beautiful creation, I will make it how I myself look like. And then it is also said that man made God in his own image, which means we look like this, so our gods will look like us, the perfect version of us. Tribal societies, the gods will look tribals. You will see the same Shiva. It is sometimes said that one of the reasons why Hinduism thrived is when the new gods would be discovered. Hinduism would make claims to those gods, such as, for example, if you see in any tribal society when they will worship forces of nature, I gave you the example that the society will say that follow the rules, not because I have said it, but because the God in the sky said this, or that God in the rock under the banyan tree said it, that he will strike lightning and rain if you don't follow. So you will see generally a weak, physically weak, but mentally strong person who will generally be a politician will be able to regulate the conduct of the whole tribe by saying that it is the gods who have wanted us, because he knows that otherwise these people will fight, and when somebody from outside comes, we will have no warriors left, which is why soldiers are never kings, right? You may have seen in your storybooks or history books that he was a brave warrior. Remember, no king is a warrior. No king who fights his own battles is a king for long. A king is not supposed to go and take out a sword, and it is only a valorization. Sri Maharaja Dhiraj Chakravarti, or these are given by a certain class, the priestly class, to make them infallible. But all the kings used to be, you could say, balding fat, and enjoying life, like you may have seen in Game of Thrones. No, we will not get into historical figures. We will not make any commentary on that. Remember that if there were some warrior, if there were warrior kings, there were more warriors and less kings. When I say that, I mean to say that they would not have been able to set up a revenue system to govern their kingdom. They may at best have been fighting wars to create a kingdom and decide its outside boundary. Too busy fighting, creating an outside boundary. Because if you are a king, there's nothing like a warrior king. A warrior king is simply establishing the boundaries of his kingdom, fighting battles, riding a horse and killing people himself. A true king will never do that. A true king will sit in a palace, he will work on the revenue code. कि कितना आ जाए, and I can hire any mercenary from mercenary. Mercenary is a person who works for money. I can hire any mercenary, any soldier. If I have my treasuries can afford him. Anyone will be able to fight with me. So kings will be known for their revenue code, how they did taxation. Right? Tax collection kaise karte the. That will also be a sign of a superior civilization. Money economy, coins. These are signs ka matlab civilization had gone beyond this, few tribal people living in caves and sharing a common area. Then you don't have civilization. Civilization will happen, then there is barter connect between communities. Which is why the discovery of a coin is looked at so, you are so excited with the discovery of a coin, which means that beyond barter, you were having some signs of a money economy, where labor and goods could be traded. Otherwise, labor, if there is no way to trade labor, for example, if somebody is putting work and if he's not getting paid for it, it means then the system would not be money economy, it would be slavery. Whether it would be a caste-based domination or slavery that you know how it exists in rest parts of the world. All right, so that is why it is said that man created. No, so one reason we believe God is, first, what is the meaning of this word God? So meaning of God is G for generator. Nearly in all religions you will find this. O for operator. And D for destroyer. ये तीन काम God करते हैं. Almost in most religions, so Rishi underscore iPad asks me that Chola kings are deemed to be great warrior. I will not make a comment on any kings, but what I will say is that once the kingdom is stabilized, it will be very much important that the kings are trained in philosophy, in art, literature, and wielding a sword. And wielding a sword, they must know how to wield a sword and fight. They must train like the best soldiers. But need they go and fight war and kill and maim other soldiers of the opposition? No, they may not. It's for the similar reason that some people are very grievous that, sir, in National Police Academy, our training is like that of commando. And when we go to the job after that, we don't even have to run in IPS. Then why we are having such training? The training purpose is रात में 2 बजे उठाकर राइफल लेकर पुरानी वाली, you have to run 10 rounds of the field. रुलाई छूट जाती है बच्चों की. उसे कहते हैं अब तो और मेहनत करके रैंक इंप्रूव करनी है. बट यू लुक वेरी गुड. अच्छे से वेट लॉस हो जाता है सबका. They get very fit, stamina develops. People who have been sitting like a couch potato in Rajendra Nagar for so many years, suddenly what will happen is, देखोगे मिलने आएगा तो बिल्कुल मिलिट्री कलबाट है, बिल्कुल चेहरा मॉडल जैसा हो गया है. पूछोगे सर अब रनिंग 21 किलोमीटर्स कर लेता हूँ, अब तो कहीं दौड़ा दो. और यहाँ पर क्या था कि रिक्शा से आ रहा है क्लासरूम करने, ये हालत थी. राइट, सो दैट फिटनेस इम्प्रूव्स. बट देन फील व्हाट हैपेंस इज, देन व्हाई आर दे गिवन दैट ट्रेनिंग? वो कह रहे हैं सर हमको पूरा SLR से लेकर AK-47 की भी ट्रेनिंग हो चुकी है, चलाना है कभी नहीं चलाना. नेता मंत्री ही है पहले तो सामने, वही चले जाएंगे काम से चलाया तो करना क्यों है? बिकॉज सो दैट द लोअर आर्म फोर्सेज दे सी इट एज अ वैल्यू. व्हेन यू आर देयर कमांडर और तुमको नहीं आना, मुंह से खड़े होकर बोलोगे गोली चलाओ, तो वो सुनेगा नहीं जब तक उसको पता है कि साहब भी शूटर, वो शौकिया चलाते हैं और हम काम के लिए चलाते हैं. That has to be there. You will not see, as an IPS, you will not be, running after chasing criminals and shooting them. You will have much, you'll have subordinate, but they have to see it as a value. That, right? So God, if you see, generator, operator, and destroyer, and he's supposed to have these three qualities: omni, But what are the three qualities? School में पढ़ा होगा. You should have studied in school. Omnipresent, omniscient, and omnipotent. Means present everywhere. Omni means every / all. Present everywhere. Omniscient means knows all. He knows everything. And he is all powerful. God can do anything. Right? This is our understanding of God. 2-3 reasons why we believe or the necessity of God would be there. Because one is that who is your father? So you'll say, sir, this person is the father of this. Who is his father? Say this. In the end, you'll keep going until you either accept the mathematical figure of infinite loop, but this will not satisfy most people. कि उसके father कौन थे? उसके you draw your family chain until you reach a point where उसके father कौन थे? So in this, to satisfy the human logic, you will invent God. In what role? As what is called Parampita. Parampita, or father of us all. What is one conception of God? He is the father of us all. That is why you need God. Now this theory has been debunked by whom? Yes, Darwin said that this infinity is not God, but this infinity is a single cell bacteria coming out from the ocean. Right? Who later became a chimpanzee and then became a man. Right? From Homo erectus, ability to stand on 2 feet, and then Homo sapiens, as we see ourselves today. That was Darwin said. So that is why it is said that, you'll see on some t-shirts it will be written Darwin killed God, because there is no need of God. Then there will be also theistic persons, religious persons will say around what time Darwin lived? 1830 or something. So you'll also see atheists will also come up with their own t-shirts. I killed God, Darwin. And next line will be, I killed Darwin, God. And the Darwin के बगल में bracket रहेगा 1830 to 1860. So now you can't say whether Darwin killed God or not, but you definitely know God killed Darwin. उसका तो start date और end date भी दिया रहेगा, है ना? The other reason why we believe that a God is necessary is we say that there is a moral law that governs, which is why all of us must be ethical. And if you violate the law, who will punish? God will punish, which is known as, in several religions, in Hindu philosophy, it will be through the law of karma, and on the basis of your deeds, will be going to heaven, or heaven-hell conception will be there in nearly every religion. Or you'll have the concept of revelation. You will also have in Abrahamic religion the concept of judgment day, where in religions where they bury the dead, what do they say? There's a judgment day when they'll be resurrected, and then you'll have to answer to God, and He will send you to Nark or Swarg mein. All these concepts are there. So God is also seen as, His one role is upholder of LOK, law of karma. If we do not have now the primary question in ghost-based ethics is, the primary question in God-based ethics is is God what is called and morality? So here the primary question is something moral, or the word sometimes used is good? because God says so. Is something moral or good because God said so? Is it is lying bad because gods have said that lying is bad? Is stealing bad because gods have said? The second is, does God say something is good because it is its fundamental nature? Is something moral or good because God says so? So if you see this approach, this some, what happens? What is the outcome of this? If something is good or moral because God says so, the first outcome of it is God is source of morality, isn't it? God becomes source of morality. I say, why do you not want to lie? He said, sir, my 10 commandments tell do not lie and do not steal, and my gods have spoken so. What is the problem or what is the outcome? God becomes the source of morality. This is accepted by whom? By religious person, they will be very happy. Yesterday was Tuesday, today is Wednesday. So on Tuesday you want to eat non-veg. Your mother says don't eat non-veg on Tuesday. And you ask why? She will say gods don't like it and gods have said so. So this moral rule has been created by whom? Gods. A lot of people, if your mother is very religious, she will like to believe that morality has been created by whom? By gods, isn't it? They will like to believe it. है ना? Accepted by religious persons. What will be the challenge with this? Problem. The first problem, if you see, the problem with this, that God becomes the source of morality. Yes, morality becomes dependent on God. है ना? So you say it loses its independent character. Now things will start to go downhill from here. Morality, when it becomes dependent on Bhagwan, isn't it? It loses its independent or objective character. है ना? What could be the problem? Yes. But the first problem that you will see is it loses independent character and it also loses ethics, and morality loses objectivity. The minute it loses objectivity, ethics becomes arbitrary. It will variation will start happening. It will lead to it will lead to what is called secular morality. Secular morality, not possible. What do I mean by secular morality? It means a moral code without God. Are you understanding the problem here? If ethics, yes. See, the two views are there with respect to morality. One view, if you see this whole debate, it is about two views. One is that morality, is it existing at the time of the beginning of the universe and it is independent in itself, whether there is a person, whether there is life or there is no life. There is something that is moral and something that is immoral, all right? And you see conception of God. Now, among one of the criteria of God, as we discussed, is he is omnipotent, omniscient, and all-knowing, all-pervasive. If you see, God is supposed to be an absolute truth. Once he becomes absolute truth, it means there is everything is God. This whole universe is in God. It is created by God. All right. So in that case, morality should also be what? Created by God. That is one view. This is what the theistic person will say, that God has created the whole universe. Then the question will come, has he also created the moral rules, as in why we should not steal, why we should not kill each other? Then one view is there that morality is also created by God, and that is, it lies within God itself. The other view is that morality is timeless, morality is objective, morality is independent of God. The minute it becomes independent, now you have two fundamental and absolute entities. One is God, he is the absolute entity. The other is morality, which means now two fundamental truths are there. One is, as I said, if you keep exploring, you get one fundamental truth, that there is the unity of God, Brahma, whatever you call it. Ultimate. All religions will say that in the end there is one God. There is but one God. All religions will finally come down to this. Right? Where the God is absolute, there is no. But the minute you accept that there is morality outside, independent of God, I repeat, there is morality outside, independent of God, which is not dependent on any God. Then what happens? They have two fundamental and final entities. One is God, the other is morality. Religious person will not accept it, because now you have the problem of what is called limited God. What good is a God if he is limited? It is like old times. In old times, what did you have? Before we had prime ministers and presidents, what did we have? Kings. Think of it. You are a king. Who makes the law? Formal law, moral law in that kingdom? It is the king. Okay? This position is there. He is the king and he makes the formal law as well as the moral law. He is one absolute. Now you told the king, what's your name, young man? Sahid. Sahil. So I tell Sahil that you are King Sahil will be there. So he says, okay, do I get to make the rules of the class and run this country? And all the moral rules of society, whether a man can have two wives or a woman can have two husbands, all the things the king will say. It's an absolute system. Wonderful. Now, I tell him that Sahil tomorrow will be transitioning to a different system. He says, will I be king? I says, yes, you will be absolute. But then I'll give you a constitution. Now he will ask me, sir, why are you going to give me this? I said, you do whatever you like, but then this is a parallel document of morality in this country. He says, what good you just? He says, you run the country as ever you want, but you try to conform to this constitution. Now, is he a limited king or not? This is what is known as constitutional monarchy. Then what will he say after a few days? He will say, sir, don't call me king, call me a prime minister or a president. I'm no longer a... What good is a king if he has to be guided by a book independent that he has not written? Isn't it? So similarly, this is the problem with God, that if morality, a moral code exists outside of God that is not his creation, then there are two fundamental entities. So they will always, whenever you have constitutional monarchy, you will have this problem. Some people will say the king is supreme. Others will say, what? The constitution is supreme. You'll always, in the end, you will say, that is the reason why in Great Britain, you will have seen that kings, people don't, the prince says that I don't want to become King of England. Several people have not wanted to become King of England. What good is a king if he has to be rule as per a constitution? What good? So people who believe in religion will say, what good is God if there is an independent, parallel entity, absolute entity, fundamental entity, independent of God, such as a moral code? And if God is merely, so when the king has given his judgment, is it his will? Then he's an absolute. But if he said, no, I have just reiterated what was in the constitution, then is he a king? No. Is he a God? No. If God is merely repeating what is a moral code that exists outside him, then he is a limited God. Religious persons will not accept it. I'm not talking about you who are moderately religious. I'm talking about who are fundamentally religious. They will not be willing to accept anything outside of God. All right, so we'll see this. So secular morality becomes impossible if you have God-based ethics. What is the other problem? It leads to what other challenges will happen? Yes, it leads to religious extremism. The my God versus your God. My God says, kill those who don't believe in me. So you are out on a killing spree. Other person says that my religion says, don't kill anyone. Right? Extremism will lead to fundamental religious fundamentalism. We have already discussed the definition of this. Fundamentalists will say, this is my book, this is what my book says, and it says that kill anyone who does not worship your God, and I will be killing it. He says that no, in this country we don't follow that book, we follow the constitution, and all men are equal. He says, I don't take that. My religion says that, or my book says, or my God says that. Any religious person, whether it is India, whether it is the West. Extremism, and it leads to fundamentalism. And then it will have all the problems of religion. There are several problems in moral philosophy, but one problem is there is the problem of intermediary. How do you know ethics when it is created by God? How many of you believe in God? Yes, young lady, you believe in God? How do you know about God? A very practical answer. You say anything. How do you know about God? Just asking. Did you see God? Very good. She says that I have not seen God. But then how did you come to know about God in the very first place? You can say, my mother told me anything. You, family. Very good. Anybody else who saw God? Okay, anybody who saw God in their dream? You saw God in your dreams? Mata aa gayi? Or you went to the temple and Panditji told you certain, or the religious person told you. So this is what is a fundamental problem in moral philosophy or philosophy of religion. What is known as the problem of intermediary. What is this problem of intermediary? Since we cannot directly know God, can we know directly God? No. Except me, I don't think there is anyone who has spoken to God. And whatever I'm saying is God's word. This is what is the problem of intermediary. We cannot directly know God or what is his words. So therefore, we are dependent on what? Intermediary. What are those intermediaries? Yes, very good. Intermediaries such as scripture or holy books. The second is a priestly class. ये कह देगा कि हम बता रहे हैं, सुनो. Priestly class, let us include prophets in that only. Evangelist, priestly class. We will know God through them. So therefore, what will happen? Scriptures. Now, they will say that we know God through scriptures. But who has written those scriptures? A human scribe has usually written those scriptures. So do you not see here? There will be the problem of intermediary is there, since we cannot know God. So we are dependent on our knowledge of morality or God on intermediaries. Isn't it? So therefore, what will this create the challenge? It will lead to Huh? Yes, challenge of interpretation, different interpretation, प्रॉब्लम ऑफ डिफरेंट इंटरप्रिटेशन. तुम कह रहे हो कि मैं ये वे फॉलो कर, वो कह रहा है कि मैं तो ये पूरा अनफॉलो कर रहा हूँ, है ना. Which interpretation to follow? This will create the problem of which god to follow. If there are many god, many people saying that there are many gods, which god to follow, isn't it? There is disagreement between followers of same god. There is disagreement between followers of same god. In all religions, you will have, for example, in Christianity, you have Catholics and Protestants. है ना? In Islam, you have Shias and Sunnis. They are not able to decide. They both believe in, है ना, one God, but unable to decide which God to follow. Isn't it? And finally, the problem when ethics is dependent on God, not only do you have the problem of interpretation and this, you also have one last problem of the philosophy of religion, that is the problem of evil. What is the problem of evil? That if all morality becomes dependent on what is the problem of evil in religious philosophy? No, everybody says that God has created everything including morality. God is an absolute where morality is also not independent, it depends on God. Has created everything. Then if God has created everything, then why is there so much pain and suffering in the world? Why are there beggars on the street? Why are people with no limbs? Why are people having disease? Why are people having death? Why their world is full of sorrow? This is what were the observations made by not Gautam Buddha. Before that, Prince Siddhartha. Siddhartha would become Gautam Buddha or the enlightened one later. But he said that this is so much suffering. And if really a God has made this, then he will definitely not be a benevolent God. That is the problem of evil in philosophy of religion. That he will definitely not be a अच्छे भगवान नहीं होंगे. इतना पीड़ा दिया है तो पूछ रहे हो क्यों? Then the religious person saying he is testing you. ऐसा टेस्ट कौन मास्टर लेता है? He's saying he's your father, he's testing you. Which father will put his children through such torture, such as getting disease, है ना? All the sadness, dukh, dard, है ना इतना दुनिया में. You go to Karol Bagh metro station, watch there for sometimes you'll see people struggling, people begging, people having disabilities, है ना? So much poverty, so much grief, so much sorrow. Go to a hospital, you'll see 5-year-old kids with terminal disease, and you'll say, who has made them all? If God has, then this is the problem. Then you cannot, this brings in the problem of what is called, you cannot explain it. There are several explanations, but there is no full satisfactory explanation that if God is a moral creature, we all believe him to be Parampita, right? The final in this view. So if he is supposed to be our father and a guardian, he better be benevolent, which means a good person, isn't it? You all believe your parents are good persons? Then what sort of father would be one who puts his children through such? इतना कड़ा इम्तिहान कौन लेते हैं? Which religious persons will say, if you are suffering and then you say that, you go to your mother and say that, Mom, I worship so much, I have always done good deeds, why am I suffering? Why have I seen this failure? Why have I seen, bad days? Then what does your mother or father say? Beta, wo tumhara pariksha le rahe hain. In all religions it is said that the God is testing you. Then what? A God who gives such tough tests to his children cannot be a moral creature. He may be a sadistic person. It is not possible that such a moral creature will take such tough imtihan of his children. So that is what is known as the problem of evil. That what explains death, disability, grief, pain, poverty in this world. And you also see what explains problem of evil is that you see evil people will be very happy. I'm not saying President Putin is evil, but all I'm saying is when I was a child, I remember he was a president. Then I grew up later, there was a term of 2 terms limitation on the Russian president. All right. When I was a child, Soviet Union had just disintegrated. I was an early newspaper reader. My father had forced me to read, so I know a lot of world events because of that. Because he forced me to read it. I did not have. I used to read the newspaper as a 6, 7 year old. So I had early reading started. So I read all of world history a lot, and which is why my observations also became like that. So I remember President Putin, and when I wanted a magazine as a school kid, my father brought Frontline. तो अभी भी कठिन है, तो उसके कारण मेरी थोड़ी रीडिंग थोड़ी ज़्यादा हो गई थी उस समय, जब छोटा था स्कूल में था तो you see President Putin was the president, 2 terms gone. Then they could not be elected for a third term because there was a limitation. So he became prime minister, I think for another 2 terms. Then he got the constitution amended so that there's no limit on the term of the president. And then again he became president, and now he's president for life, right? तो 25-30 साल से तो, हाँ 25 साल से तो definitely he's been, हाँ 25 साल के ऊपर ही होगा. He's been, since you were born, he's been president and he's still there, right? So anyway, so why is, and you will see that people who are evil, they will thrive, they will do very well. और जो सीधे साधे लोग रहेंगे वो punished रहेंगे. So that is also one dimension of problem of evil with this. Anyway, what is the other view? The other view is that things are good in themselves, but God merely recognizes it. Isn't it? I said God says something is good because it is its fundamental nature. What is the problem? What is one good thing? The positive is, let us see the positive. The positive is ethics remains objective reality. मतलब सच में ethics जैसी कोई चीज है. ये नहीं कि you are following a religion only, then there is Christian ethics, there is Islamic ethics, and there is Hindu code of ethics. Nothing like that. Ethics is ethics, right? That is the positive benefit of it, isn't it? And what will be the negatives of this? The first negative is God becomes dependent on whom? Dependent on ethics. So therefore you have what is called a limited God. Just like I tell Sahil in this class that you are a king, but you have a constitution. Then he will say, call me a president, don't call me a king. Kings don't, they write the constitution, they don't obey the constitution, and they change the constitution when they want. And if there is a constitution and there is a king, there are 2 kings. So don't better call the constitution the king, call me a president instead. Right? So God dependent on ethics. There is a problem of limited God. This is not acceptable to religious persons. Not acceptable to religious persons. And third, it takes away God's free will. Everybody knows what is free will. It takes away God's free will. Means God does not decide what morality is. Morality exists and God has no say in what is moral and what is not. You say to God, this is not fair. He said, look, I can't do anything. I'm not a God. I'm a judge. And there is morality. I simply interpret what is good and I tell you. Right? There's a problem with this approach. Isn't it? So therefore, now tell me, is it possible to be ethical without following God? So this is known as what is called the Euthyphro problem in philosophy. Euthyphro problem. The Euthyphro problem says that whether something is good because God says it, or God says something is good because it is independently so. This is what we discussed, is what is known as the Euthyphro problem. Now tell me, is it possible to be ethical without God? Yes. Ethics without God. It will have two views. One is no. You will say it is not possible, and you will write 2-3 arguments. Maybe you'll say that, you know, God, ethics, you will write all 2-3 lines. You may write that it is. Some people believe that it is not possible to be ethical without God. They believe that God lays the moral foundation for ethics. They will say that ethics is not possible without God, because if there is no God, plays one very key role. One is as a creator of ethics, but you can say, chalo, created nahi. The second most important role, what? Upholder of ethics. God is the moral governor of the universe. What does he uphold? The law of karma. So which is why you will be ethical, because you feel that if you do not violate the law, then who will punish you? So there is necessity both from origin as well as from the law of karma. So you may argue that, that some people believe God is necessary for ethics, because very foundation on which ethics is based, and without God there will be no punishment for ethics. So therefore it will be difficult to enforce. What will be your final position? You will say that it is possible to be ethical without God. You will write it in these two parts. First part we have discussed. You will write all the problems of God-based ethics. Is this clear? If you get a question, what are all the problems of God-based ethics? The problem is ethics loses independent character. Second, it leads to the problem of intermediary, because we cannot know God directly. If you may say that God revealed himself to me through an Akashwani. One is that God did miracle. For example, in Christian ethics, God is supposed to have done miracles or revealed himself to somebody. But जिसने बोला है कि God, I saw God in my dream, again he becomes an intermediary. Right? So such as, for example, you will see that some people will be given, what do we call? Sainthood. Yes, sainthood, because they have direct experience of God. कई बार ऐसा रहेगा. So you will talk about several things. It has its own problem. No objectivity of ethics, problem of intermediary, religious fundamentalism, extremism, then all these problems. And second part you will write, is it possible to be ethical without God? You will give one simple commonsensical argument that every day we see people living life ethically. Or you will several times see several atheistic persons also leading what? Ethically living, or they are living a moral life. They'll say, do you believe in God? No. लेकिन देखोगे कुछ भी गलत नहीं कर रहा. So that is one proof why it is possible to be ethical without believing in God. That is one reason. Apart from that, even in philosophy, atheistic persons living, so it is possible. You can write second argument from Indian philosophy, that even in Indian philosophy, the world has been explained. In Indian philosophy, world has been explained, both world/morality has been explained without need for God. Without need for God. Who has explained it? हाँ? कृष्ण तो खुद कह रहे हैं कि भगवान है वो. But चलो ठीक है. Charvaka did not believe, he could ask a very good question. Charvaka believed neither in God nor in morality. Don't give that example. That Charvaka, he did not believe in God, he did not believe in morality either. Yes, you can do that. You can give example that Buddha, what did he become? He remained silent on the question of God, on metaphysical question. Whenever somebody says कि sir, ये सब तो बहुत हुआ, लेकिन अंडर ब्राह्मणिज्म एक से एक गुरु हैं जो गॉड सोल पर घंटों बात करते हैं, तो बुद्ध क्या करते थे? मौन हो जाते थे, बोलते थे उन टॉपिक पे मैं डिस्कशन नहीं करूंगा. ठीक है, बुद्ध इज देयर, बुद्धिज्म इटसेल्फ, बुद्धा फिलॉसफी, इवन जैन फिलॉसफी, Do you have the concept of a creator God? Jain and Buddhism, no need of a creator God. Sankhya philosophy does not need God to explain the universe. According to Sankhya philosophy, how have they explained the world? Not God, no God, but the world is interplay of, anybody from philosophy optional? Yes, very good. Prakriti and Purush, those two entities are there. इसी से दुनिया बनी हुई है. भगवान की जरूरत नहीं है. Creator God not needed. Mimamsa also. Mimamsa also does not believe in creator God. They have not dependent on God. ये सब तो हो गए. And in final conclusion, you will write that is it possible to be ethical without believing in God and religion? You will say yes. In modern societies, what have we invented? Yes, the highest source of secular ethics. The highest source of secular ethics, yes. Our constitution is very secular. No religious bias is there. Most constitutions, so that is why we have the most modern constitution. Iske baad, no development has happened in the field of constitution making. Even from the American Constitution, our constitution was a progress. Having said that, he asked a question that said, don't you think constitutions are built on religious morality? I told you on day one, first line of the class was, religion is the most primitive source of ethics. है ना? पहली line थी class की. So religion will have an influence. But today it is possible for societies to conduct themselves. You do not need Christian ethos, you do not need Sharia law. What you need is a modern, progressive, secular constitution, according to which if you live, you will have lived a moral life. You do not need to believe in any God. And therefore, our constitution provides the perfect path for leading a moral life without the need for God. Modern societies ke liye, as US citizens, what is the highest source of morality? No religious book, but it is constitution and law. Is this clear? Now, let us do consequentialism, also known as teleological ethics. Hmm. You can say popular morality is ethics. You can say that. A lot of people today believe that with respect to, you can say that popular morality conforms to ethics. But as I said before, that while we say that popular morality is ethics, you have heard several judgments that have said that this is societal ethics. And in several judgments, they have said that what supersedes societal ethics? Constitutional morality. Which means that morality that is ingrained in the constitution is superior to what the society thinks is ethical. And on these grounds, several judgments have been given. You must appreciate that fact that executives and parliaments would be very wary of the term constitutional morality. Why? Because it is the second basic structure doctrine. The first time basic structure doctrine came, what happened? Please understand the significance of this thing. Judiciary says, there is a basic structure to the constitution, I will not let you change it. And any time the executive or the parliament will take an action, they will say that basic structure affect हो रहा है, ये मैं करने नहीं दूंगा. Such as, for example, NJAC Act or for the Apex Act for Judicial Reforms or Apex Act for Judicial Appointment Reforms. You're aware of this? National Judicial Accountability Act, isn't it? So what did the judiciary say? I will not let you do this. Why? Because it affects the basic structure. Then you ask which part? He says no part, but basically judicial independence is a part of basic structure. So now the doors for judicial reforms by way of appointments process is closed for the parliament and the executive. In the parliamentary form, executive enjoys parliamentary majority, so therefore sometimes their interests are intertwined. As I said, in the parliamentary system, the executive enjoys what? Parliamentary majority. So for all practical purposes, you may say, sir, aren't they the same? Yes, we have a few system. It is not a presidential system where they have a separate mind of their own. Largely what is the executive mind is also the will of the parliament. You can only be the executive if the parliament wills you to be. So therefore you enjoy this. And constitutional morality has the same problem. Constitutional morality, if basic structure has been used by the judiciary as a tool to have the final say in matters of amendment to the constitution. When is the basic doctrine of basic structure called in? When there is sometimes when it conflicts with anything given in the constitution, such as an amendment to the constitution, saying that it will alter the structure of the constitution. Then the doctrine of constitutional morality has been invented by the judiciary for limiting absolutely any legislative will or executive decision. समझ में आया? नहीं. I'll just repeat. The basic structure doctrine has been invented. Whenever you do anything that will alter anything with the constitution, the judiciary gets the final say that you are altering the basic structure. Now, but then you can do so many other things also, right? Such as, for example, you don't need to amend the constitution on bringing a law on marital rape or homosexuality or even banning of triple talaq or, let us say, bringing a uniform civil code. Sometimes you may not need to amend the constitution. So when you will play with that, judiciary will say that, I'm not talking basic, I'm talking constitutional morality. This thing that you have done violates what? Constitution. It can do anything, and the government will say, define constitutional morality. He'll say, I will not define it. I will tell you what it is, but I'll not tell you what it is. Exactly. So which will let the Supreme Court interfere in almost anything. If Bihar is going to have a special intensive revision, it may say that the opposition parties have not been taken into confidence, and this is, while it is legal, but it is going against what? Constitutional morality, that it is important for the opposition's confidence for an electoral process to be free and fair. You just do not need a free and fair process. You also need the confidence of the opposition in the electoral process. And if that is not there, then it goes against what? So you'll see that these black holes have been created by the judiciary, thereby making India's judiciary the most powerful judiciary in the world. The twin pillars of the doctrine of basic structure, which gives the parliament, which gives the judiciary the final say in matters of any constitutional amendment, and doctrine of constitutional morality, which will say, ये मैं जहां मान में आएगा लगा दूंगा. Let us say homosexuality, where the government has a position or the parliament has a position, or marital rape pe, judiciary will not be able to stop it, saying that it goes against the basic structure of the constitution. Okay, parliament में मैं कोई amendment नहीं ला रहा हूं, है ना? So they will fight it on the grounds that ये basic structure alter नहीं कर रहा है marital rape का your law, but what it is going against is the spirit of the constitution. And constitutional morality supersedes societal morality. Right? That is why you see that. So this is also the criticism of judiciary in India. These two doctrines have given Supreme Court powers that were not envisaged for it in the original constitution. Powers that were not envisaged by our constitution makers, that this is how our Supreme Court should operate. That they had not thought. Yes. Constitutional? Yes. What provides popular ethics? Constitutional morality provides, it is a code. So societal ethics is, see, there is no difference between popular ethics and societal ethics. Secular ethics simply means that there is no religion underlying. In the absence of constitution, you are only left with a religious book. So secular ethics simply means that there is no religion that is underlying this book. That is one. Second is, you are saying that what constitutes popular ethics? Popular ethics is a very contextual understanding of society's understanding of what is moral and immoral. Your question is societal, ethical. Yes, yes, yes. Yes. हम्म, वो सोसाइटी का इवॉल्व होता है through whom all the sources of ethics will come for it. Constitution will also come, religion will also come, law will also come, revolutions will come, culture will come, tradition will come. All these things will provide for popular ethics. But what is popular is not always correct, which is why sometimes we need guidance from a constitution, and it is best if it is written down. If it is not written down, even if it is written down, there will be interpretation problems. Even if it is not written down, then it will be much bigger interpretation problem. So that is why whenever popular morality comes in conflict with constitutional morality, it is best that constitutional morality prevail, because popular morality will keep changing at a much faster pace. And again, as you see, constitutional morality and popular morality, let us see, and popular morality. If you see closely, constitutional morality will be something like law, popular morality will be something like ethics. If popular morality tomorrow, if largely the Indian society believes that their marital rape should be an offense, then what will happen is it will infuse into constitutional morality. It will be accepted in law also. If today large number of, right now the courts have also ruled first liberally, and then now we said that we took one step forward and two steps backward, even on the matter of homosexuality, such as decriminalizing homosexuality, but not recognizing same-sex marriages. So technically you have taken one step forward. Why? You decriminalize homosexuality. Did you recognize same-sex marriages? You say, no, we don't forbid it, but register नहीं होगा. Wife में उसका नाम या husband में उसका नाम नहीं लिख सकते. If somebody dies, then you are not the legal heir. समझ में आई बात? ठीक है. So even in such cases, if the popular morality of our society tomorrow becomes that yes, same-sex marriages should be acceptable, then it will become a part of constitutional morality. They will influence it. But as long as that is not there, you have to go by what the constitutional morality says. Constitutional morality is left to the wisdom of the judiciary. हाँ बोलो. They are guided by unwritten constitutions. See, one of the key functions of a constitution is A, put limitations on the government, but more than that, B, to assign powers to different institutions such that there is no conflict in the country. So everybody knows what is there. One purpose of the constitution, yes. So where do you have unwritten constitution? What is your question? Okay, this is a big debate, but this debate will arise from the debate that happened in our Constituent Assembly on the very question that India has the lengthiest constitution. Ambedkar was asked this question. Ambedkar was asked the question. This whole debate came, her question, or even the doctrine of constitutional morality. This debate did not come ki chalo today we'll discuss constitutional morality. This debate came when somebody asked Ambedkar that why America has a 2-page constitution or a 1-page constitution. You have created itna mota book for constitution. And second, why has it become? There are several reasons. But primary reason was that whole Government of India Act 1935 was put in the constitution. So they said, and even jokingly, मजाक भी उड़ता था कई बार कि पूरा Government of India Act आपने संविधान में have डाल it, and that is one of the primary reasons why the constitution has become so thick, because after fundamental rights, fundamental duties, you can have it one page. उसके ऊपर का जरूरत नहीं है. ये पूरा गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया 1935 एक्ट करने का क्या जरूरत था? व्हाई डिड यू नीड टू पुट गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया एक्ट 1935? एंड व्हाट इज गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया एक्ट 1935? In one line, it is the administrative structure of the union and the states. In one line, it sets the administrative structure of the union and the state. कि भाई there will be two polities, एक union, एक center, एक parliament, एक ऐसे करके यही सब है उसमें. Nothing else is there. There is no rights and something. So that is the point when this discussion of constitutional morality came. He said कि बेटा, in Britain we have constitutional morality. So that is why the whole question of UPSC in the main says that constitutional morality is not a natural sentiment. He said in Britain, though it is a natural sentiment. When the king was ruling, then the noblemen got together and said that we can't have the system where today king is having this mood, so he says X is the law. Tomorrow he wakes up with a bad mood and says, put him to death. Tomorrow he has a good mood, he says, give him a sharfis and send him home. You can't have this. So therefore, the first effort at having some sort of limitation on the power of the king was through what? In Britain, signing of Magna Carta or the Grand Charter, which in effect took away some powers of the king, saying you cannot be an absolute, jab man kiya jaise kiya, and would later, in modern times, be written by in United States of America, which would write the world's first modern constitution. These are the two developments. But in both these places, the noblemen rose and said, we need a constitution. We can't have a king who eats, drinks, make merries, and makes rules the way he likes. There is arbitrariness. And in United States of America, how did it happen? The 13 colonies, they got together. 13, think of it as 13 provinces got together. They don't know how to govern. We says, we don't want British rule. So let us then decide a constitution, and if you all agree to it, we will have a constitution. But in India, did the people come together to make the constitution? No. It was mandated by a foreign power. What was Ambedkar's fear, as well as every other fear that everybody was having? Just think of it like right now, Bangladesh is going through a strife. Every Indian is saying, yaar, ye Pakistan na ban jaye. You are worried, no? That this is exactly going on the path of Pakistan. So that time the fear was that this country, it is a huge subcontinent. And they're diverse. It is almost like the African continent. Different languages in every area, different language, different culture is there. So they will do raita. So the British felt that the best way was to unite the country. If nothing unites us, neither language, nor culture, nor tradition, if there is no religion, then one thing that unites us is acceptance of the constitution. So that was the British mandate. So among several criteria that Ambedkar said, he said British constitutional morality is not a natural sentiment in our country for the simple reason that it was not that people adopted a constitution and said, well, let us all be governed by it. Constitution पहले Constituent Assembly में बनाया, फिर पटेल जा कर states को integrate कर रहे हैं, जो नहीं मान रहे हैं, वहाँ army भेज रहे हैं और लिख रहे हैं police action. Right? This is what is happening. So once this Constituent Assembly, people will die or they will age, they will grow old. तो यहाँ भी अफ्रीका की तरह 4 dictator आने हैं. And what will happen is, the whole tendency was, what do prime ministers want? Prime ministers want to become presidents. Presidents want to become presidents for life and dictators. So this whole fear was there. So he said one very good line. He said that there is no natural sentiment, so constitutional morality has to be inculcated. And inculcated among the people, yes, but more so in the ruling party plus the opposition. So he gave 3 criteria we will study in constitutional morality. And one of the criteria was that both when you are, so he quoted other thinkers, but he said that maximum liberty should be there, such as you have every right to abuse the government to the highest. But second, you should also, both the ruling party and the opposition should have the confidence that after all the abuse and everything, both of them know that, the opposition also know that he will not violate the constitution. And the ruling party also knows that if I lose the election, he comes to power, he will also govern as per the constitution. And he said that it is, I put this whole Government of India Act 1935 because my fear is that, chalo, you will say that somebody may amend the constitution and overthrow it. But it is possible to change the form, his exact words were, it is possible to change the forms of the government without even amending the constitution. And I don't want this. If that administrative structure is compromised, then the union will collapse. So he said that I'm putting the whole administrative structure in the constitution so that nobody is able to change it. And second, even if somebody changes it, we will need to inculcate constitutional morality so that person ruling party does not behaves as per the constitutional morality. And the opposition also, even if it is victimized, it knows that when I come to power, I also have to be abide by constitutional morality. They have to have both faith in each other. Ruling party and opposition have to faith कि in the end कितनी भी लड़ाई हो जाए, अंत में constitutional morality के along we have to be guided. So in the case of British, you don't need a lot of written laws, rules, because their constitution has, it is not a top down, it is what is called, yes, it is a bottom up constitution. So constitution has a reason there. यहाँ पर तुमको impose किया गया और बोला गया all men are created equal. वहाँ पर वो डिमांड नीचे से आई थी, यहाँ पर पहले दिल्ली में हुआ, फिर पूरे देश में फैला दिया गया. So that is the reason why you not need a lot of things even in places where you don't have a written constitution. Can we say that? Natural sentiment means the sentiment that occurs naturally. So constitutional morality ko lekar he said that naturally people don't think that we are a democracy and we have to abide by. Naturally in this continent he took a dim view of the society. He said that naturally people don't think, oh, we will vote and we will elect a government. Naturally he said in this continent people will want to capture power and become absolute rulers. That is what I mean by natural sentiment is your animalistic urges. So natural sentiment of हाँ कम आते हैं वेरी गुड हाँ दैट इज करेक्ट नेचुरल सेंटिमेंट है ऑफ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल मोरालिटी वर्ड नहीं ऐड करो उसमें it is not making sense but what you're saying is in such countries the source popular morality is a source of constitutional morality you can say that but हाँ ठीक है natural sentiment is the source of popular morality natural sentiment itself is popular morality जो natural sentiment है such as your sentiments with respect to same sex marriage itself is popular morality yes now this teleological ethics so don't be afraid of this term teleos equals purpose so what is consequentialism write down a line consequentialism consequentialism is a consequentialism is a school of philosophy or ethics that says consequentialism is a school of philosophy / ethics that says that morality of an action which says that morality of an action depends on morality of an action depends on the outcomes morality of an action depends on the outcomes and not the means adopted full stop better the outcome full stop better the outcome more moral are the means better the outcome more moral are the means is this clear so for example if there is a simple question that making a dam think of an example such as making a dam. Making a dam will require exactly what? Yes, land acquisition, भूमि अधिग्रहण या भू अर्जन जो विभाग आपके अंदर आएगा कलेक्टोरेट में है ना it will require for example land acquisition डैम बनता है तो कैसे बनता है यू आर अवेयर नदी फ्लो हो रही है मुझे इसको यहाँ रोकना है ताकि आगे ना जाए तो मैं क्या करूँगा खोजूंगा कि कहाँ आसपास के जितने एरियाज हैं यहाँ पर डैम बनाऊंगा तो यहाँ रहेंगे गांव वाले राइट तो उनको करना पड़ेगा हटाना पड़ेगा दिस इज सिंपल ठीक है सो लैंड एक्विजिशन नाउ व्हाट विल हैपन व्हाट विल बी द सो ऑन and what will the benefit of this if you build a dam yes very good it will be hydropower plant लगेगा yes energy और दिल्ली में लोड शेडिंग नहीं होगी गर्मी में एसी पूरे 18 डिग्री पे चला के सो पाओगे राइट so just building a dam or a hydropower plant on one hand the purpose will be this will be the intended purpose this is what you can say is the intention or intended outcome and for that one thing that you may have to do is land acquisition necessary step that you have to take now is building a hydropower plant good or bad? Concept clear hai? Good. Chalo. Why? Because consequentialist will say that it is good because it will generate more electricity. दिल्ली वाले लोग और 16 डिग्री पर एसी चला के सोएंगे और गर्मी में हीटर चलाएंगे. They will live life like any first world country. They will consume so much energy, and it will look as if some world leader comes to Delhi, then he will think that ये भी तो पूरा developed ही तो है. मतलब we are rich and powerful. It will also reflect our global aspirations of being recognized as a major power. You're aware that when foreign prime ministers and presidents come, ये पूरा highway और expressway जो है दिल्ली गुड़गांव, वो पूरा गुलदस्ते वगैरह सब लगे रहते हैं. फिर जब हट जाते हैं तो वो गमले को हम लोग हटा लेते हैं, नहीं तो लोग चोरी कर लेंगे, है ना, कर भी लेते हैं चोरी. ये सारा होता है सो दैट इफ प्रेसिडेंट ट्रम्प वगैरह आए तो लगे कि यहाँ भी कोई तगड़े नेता तगड़े देश बन रहा है. मतलब दिस इज ऑल्सो द क्रिटिसिज्म यू विल से दैट व्हेन no comparison, but when between the First World War and Second World War, when Chamberlain and British Prime Minister and French President, they used to go to Berlin, तो इतना ज़्यादा display of power and show was there that they used to be afraid of Adolf, है ना, Hitler. मतलब no comparison, बस ऐसे बता रहा हूँ, ठीक है. तो ये होता था, so that you are able to do your, he was aspiring, है ना, that time it was an aspiring power कि भाई हम भी कम नहीं हैं, we have defeated us in First World War back in, we are strong, and they were used to be afraid also. देख के डर भी लगता था कि मेरे यहाँ तो यही हो जाएगा कि बिजली कौन देगा, उसी पर मेरे विभाग में, मेरी कैपिटल में people and municipality will fight, and then they will switch off the light at night. यहाँ पर ये लोग के पास इतना पैसा है, they are rich and powerful कि एक लाइट की जगह 4 लाइट जलाए हुए, इतना पानी है ना. You need money to do all those things, right? In every state, Delhi will say that government will give us the bijli ka bill or we will charge from the capital. So Delhi CM will say, I'll not let it charge on the people, and government will not pay the bill. So Tata Power and others will say, then we will not do 10 दिन light off रखेंगे, उसके बाद हम, यही लफड़ा हो जाएगा. If you work in the government, you will know such problems. Anyway, so you will have to do land acquisition, which means first is deforestation. Where will you do this land acquisition? Will you do it in Delhi? No, here people have voice. Forget land acquisition, you can't. 1 centimeter, you can't take their land, the people who have been granted land here. So you'll do it in place which is sparsely populated, which means least people living there. So that will generally be a forest area. So first is deforestation, and in forest area, who will be living? Forest dwellers or scheduled tribes. So it will lead to what is called tribal displacement. You did that, and we did that for decades. This actually has happened. We have did it for the decades, leading to the problem of what is called Naxalism, where they said that we are fighting for 3 things. One is Jal, yes, jungle, and these are what sort of resources? These are natural resources. There is no one owner, but this has been clearly and cleverly observed by the state for welfare of the people. That is what the Naxalites say. Now think of it, according to a consequentialist, he will say that yes, it is good because it has good consequences, because the hydropower plant will be built, Delhi people will be able to benefit from energy. It will also be in sync with Delhi's aspiration to be a major global capital city. मतलब दिल्ली जैसा Berlin is there or Paris is there, वैसा हम बना पाएंगे if we are able to have cheap electricity, right? और LED लगा देंगे थोड़ा, है ना? So this is what is basically consequentialism. According to it, what is important? The outcomes are important. Second thing that teleological ethics says that, है ना? In teleological ethics, means are not important. And here means what has happened? The means adopted are deforestation and tribal displacement. So consequentialists will support something like this. Okay, this is consequentialist. It has certain positives. What is its benefits? Tell me, what is the first benefit? It is popular because it is कॉमन सेंसिकल. कॉमन सेंस से लगता है कि हाँ ठीक है. यस, नो मीन्स आर नॉट इंपॉर्टेंट. What is important is Yes, means are not important, but what is important is ends. हाँ, morality depends on the means, but on ends. ठीक है, तो means morality depends on not on means, no? On the means adopted. ठीक है, तो उसी को समझ लो that according to it explicitly means are not important, but ends are important. Now, what is the positive? It is popular because it is commonsensical. It appeals to. Second is it does away with rigid moral rules. No rules are there because what is important? Ends are important. Right? And its benefit is morality becomes or comes within reach of everyone. है ना? Morality comes within the reach of everyone. Easy to adopt and practice. Why it is within the reach of everyone? Think of it. For example, energy generation. Everybody wants to generate energy, every nation. How do we generate energy? You say, okay, karna hai. But now there is, so you say, sir, we produce energy by burning fossil fuel. Is it moral? A consequentialist will say, yes. He'll say, but what about the mining that you are doing? That is leading to tribal displacement. That is leading to destruction of the entire ecology. It is leading to destruction of both flora and fauna. You'll say it does not matter in the end if it is leading to production of energy and that too affordable energy. So therefore it is moral, it is ethical. This is what consequentialist will tell you, isn't it? It has several types. Write down a few lines. It has several types. One is utilitarianism. Which says human well-being should be, or happiness. You can say happiness or should be maximized. Human well-being and happiness should be maximized. Human well-being and happiness. The other is hedonism. It says pleasure should be maximized. Hedonism. Pleasure should be maximized. AC होना चाहिए 16 डिग्री पे और रजाई होनी चाहिए और चाय होनी चाहिए, बस और कुछ नहीं चाहिए. The third type is several types. I'm just giving you some time. Welfareism, which says economic and social welfare, economic and social well-being of people. Socio-economic and social well-being of people should be maximized. They will promote, ये freebies promote कर देंगे. They will promote freebies. And you have, so for example, you have consequentialist, libertarians. And they believe liberty should be maximized. Consequentialist libertarians, they will say, they'll call for free market. They will call for deregulation. Hedonist, what will they call for? कि सर एक और एसी लग जाता तो बढ़िया रहता, साथ में क्लास में, है ना? समोसा चाय मिल जाता तो बढ़िया रहता. So hedonism will basically try to maximize pleasure. What sort of pleasure? Bodily pleasure. So this is a Charvaka way of thinking where you maximize, है ना? So according to Charvaka, they do not believe in. So core philosophy of Charvaka everybody knows for prelims. Yes or no? हाँ? बोलो no, बोला कोई बात नहीं, अच्छी बात है. You don't? हाँ. So Charvaka is a materialistic philosopher. When they ask him, does he believe in God? He says no. They ask him, why you don't believe in God? He says, because I cannot see one. So he says ki whatever is the present world, that itself has to be enjoyed. So he says, what about the future? What about if you do bad deeds today, then you will get bad, है ना? Fruits of your bad deeds, you will get it tomorrow. He said there is no tomorrow, there is only today. So he will try to maximize, he will pursue, है ना? Arth, dharma, kama, moksha में, he is only pursuing earth and kama are the two permanent values for him. Even earth is secondary to kama. He says everything का purpose क्या होना चाहिए? मजा आना चाहिए. So the core philosophy will be ऋण लो घी पियो, है ना? कि खूब लोन लिया और खूब बड़ा बड़ा गाड़ी महंगा और घड़ी वड़ी सोना वोना पहन के बैठे हुए हैं. They are enjoying life, है ना? So this is hedonism. They say that pleasure, human pleasure should be maximized. हाँ. ये डैम बनने में नहीं है. Consequence libertarian, what is your exact question? ये बिल्कुल डैम बनने देंगे. They will say कि it will increase our liberties. If we have more energy, people will be able to do more things. It increases our liberties to do things. So they will be in favor of dams. See, there will be contradictions. You will not have final answers. So you will be say that it will lead to better social economic outcomes. That is what will be the criticism of this. Okay? The criticisms will be the criticisms will be. What could be the criticism? Let us take the criticism itself. What is the core philosophy of consequentialism? Means is more important than ends, right? So question will be, some people believe that means are more important, others believe that ends are more important. What is according to you? So even means are more important than, no, sorry, ulta. Inversion हो गया ये. Ends are more important than means, है ना? What will be the problem with this approach? First problem is consequences are hard to predict. Consequences are hard to predict. Isn't it? Consequences are hard to predict. We can only predict what? Probability कि ये हो सकता है. Such as you approve this hydropower as a secretary to the government of India, and now in certain area it led to so much deforestation, or it led to such tribal displacement that it became a Naxalite hotspot and has led to hundreds of deaths of civilians as well as CRPF personnel. Now what happened is you had predicted it will bring peace and prosperity. What has happened is not only peace is gone, no prosperity has come. Project is stalled because now Naxalites are not letting anyone, any contractor enter the area for building the dam. ये तुमने नहीं सोचा था, right? So first is consequences are difficult to predict. You only have a probability that this is going to happen. है ना? Second criticism is that, है ना? Consequences. Second criticism is that second, you can say it that, yes. What is more important? Intentions. What is more important? Intentions or intended outcome versus actual outcome. Intended outcome versus actual outcome. Consequentialist will make his plan on the basis of intended outcome. And he has predicted. And in the end, there is no peace, no prosperity. So what has happened is, actual outcome may be different, isn't it? Then third, you can say, ki, what should we measure? Measure what? You say, no, you measure the outcomes or the consequences. Better the outcome, more moral is the action. So measure what? Should we measure happiness? Should we measure happiness or welfare? लोग कितना खुश है मेजर करो, या वेलफेयर और डेवलपमेंट कि इस एरिया में विकास आ गया है ना, और सेटिस्फैक्शन. What do we measure? Big problem है ना. एक पूरा चार्ट बना लो पूरे हमेशा के लिए, समझ में आएगा. Think of an example of green revolution. ठीक है, you think ये topic ही पूरा है. Once for all you understand it, your entire one topic will be understood and you will have several examples from one green revolution. How did we start? If you see phase 0 of green revolution, how did it start? Why did it start? So you broadly say 1930s, 1940s, around 1920s, 1930s by Norman Borlaug. Norman Borlaug, father of Green Revolution. There was the pressure that world population was increasing. You've read Malthusian economics. Malthus had given a theory that the population will increase exponentially, 1, 2 ka 4, 8, 16. Lekin resources or food will only have an arithmetic progression. Everybody remembers that? So this was given. Okay? So in phase 0, when Borlaug started with his experiments and was successful in creating hybrid variety of rice and wheat. ये हुआ था. Hybrid varieties of rice and wheat were created. What was the purpose of this? You'll see entire India's food philosophy in this. Hybrid variety of rice and wheat. What was the purpose? To feed increasing global population. And this was successful somewhat in parts of South America. In India, post-independence in phase 1, what did India have? India had some problems. Food shortage plus huge population. These two challenges. So India undertook green revolution under the guidance of whom? है ना? M.S. Swaminathan. High yield variety, HYV seeds. Green revolution has, if you see, you can give 4 pillars of green revolution were there. High yield variety seed. इसमें हुआ क्या था? Wheat and rice. You have seen it grow? Have you seen rice and wheat crops? Young lady, have you seen? How tall does it grow? About this much? How much does it grow? इतना? ये नीचे देख रहा है कि कौन सा स्टेज से ना, broadly बताओ this much. How much does it grow? Is it grow this much? It grows shorter than you, nearly. So earlier it used to be this much. So he felt that if I concentrate the energy, whatever the plant is giving that energy in growing so tall, let me reduce that. And let me concentrate the whole energy in, so that is what is called high yield variety, which were dwarf variety, which means it is smaller than you. So we reduce the height. We put all the calories in the seed to increase the calorific value. What was the purpose? Because before that, We had, what was India eating? We were eating large amount of millets. Why? Were we rich? That is why we are eating it? No. Why did we grow millets? No, not nutrition. यार गरीबी थी, तुम कह रहे हो न्यूट्रिशन. अभी महंगा वाला खरीदोगे कि क्वेकर ओट्स खरीद के लाओगे, और रागी जाकर देखोगे सुपरमार्केट में 1000 रुपए किलो मिल रहा है, और रिच पीपल, और इन माय हाउस आल्सो दीस थिंग्स हैव स्टार्टेड नाउ कि मिलेट खाना है, और रागी और बाजरा हेल्थ के लिए है ना. सो मिलेट इट ग्रू बिकॉज वी वेर पुअर, एंड मिलेट डज इज अ हार्ड क्रॉप. इसको कैसे उगाया जाता है? बस ऐसे डाल दिया जाता है, पानी नहीं डालना होता है. does not require, yes, yes, वाटर की जरूरत नहीं है, उसको खेत में डाल दिए. एंड वी यूज इट बोथ फॉर एनिमल फॉडर एंड ह्यूमन कंजम्पशन. जीवन सही चल रहा था. इसमें क्या होता था? इतना सारा खाओगे तो इतनी कैलोरी मिलेगी जो आप अभी चाहते हो, राइट? कि पूरा पिज्जा खाएं और इतनी कैलोरी मिले. सो दिस इज व्हाट वी आर डूइंग. यू डोंट जस्ट थ्रो इट, एंड इट इज नॉट फाइन ग्रेन, it is coarse grain. It is coarse grain. ठीक है? So we were doing this. The problem was too much population, and you will hear, if you talk to a grandparents, they will say कि earlier people used to eat 20 rotis, and all the poor people used to eat 20 rotis, 30 rotis. Why? पहले 5 रोटी बराबर 1 रोटी की ताकत होती थी, because it is, which is the reason why you are eating millets right now, so that even if you eat 2 rotis, it is as good as half wheat roti. Okay? So this is the condition that we have. Now what happens is, there is a feeling in the government that what we are going to have is starvation death. We will collapse as a nation. Already Bengal famine had happened in 1940s. We did not do very well. Now it was a free nation, and now if you have famine, then you can't have the British to blame. Is this clear? You don't have the British to blame. Now high yield. So what happened is, we created high yield varieties on this dwarf variety. The second was chemical fertilizer. उसके बाद तीसरा हमने सोचा, इसमें तगड़ा मारेंगे क्या? पेस्टिसाइड. एंड assured irrigation. How assured irrigation? Cloud seeding करते थे? No. Ground water and canal. Ground water plus canal. Assured irrigation powered by what? Free electricity. अभी भी मिल रही है फ्री में to the farmer. All right. This is what is the, we thought about it. You'll see how it ended for us. Few things before that. In early phase, where did we do in early phase? Where we tried green revolution? No, second phase we tried. Then first we tried Eastern UP, Bihar. क्यों? Because tiller was owner or farmer. Okay? Tiller of the land was the owner of the land or farmer of the land. In Punjab, the tiller of the land is not the, somebody is the owner, the one who's doing the agriculture labor, he will be a migrant laborer or a worker. All right. So there what happened is, small farm size. Why small farm size? Yes, large fragmentation. Why? Very good. High population. Population will be high. Plus, you have fertile land. So कोई जमीन छोड़ने को तैयार नहीं है. हरियाणा में चले जाओ. Not right now. It is expensive. Or Rajasthan, then nobody is willing to take that land. You will have 50 bighas of land. Nobody wants, because कुछ होना वहाँ पर नहीं है. But here, you throw the seeds. You have water in 8 feet, 20 feet. You call district collectors कि water का तुम क्या कर रहे हो? तो बिहार का कलेक्टर कहेगा कि मैंने सोचा कि एक सीवेज ट्रीटमेंट प्लांट बनाओ, तो 20 फीट पर ही पानी आ गया, तो क्या करूंगा? यहाँ पर पानी की कोई दिक्कत, I don't have a problem here. So we tried there. What we thought is, the plot size is small, so if he will do green revolution, he will sell it, then who will benefit? He directly will benefit. Then it failed. ठीक है, तो इस फेज में ये फेल कर गया. Then what did we do? In later phase, हमको समझ में आ गया Why did the farmer so we gave the call of Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan. So we are telling that please grow food for whom? For the country. Poster लगा रहता है, जैसे फिल्म का पोस्टर लगता है वैसे government would use posters. Nowadays you don't have government poster, you have political poster. Government use post posters. Newspaper में ad आता था कि you start growing for whom? For the country. In second phase, Acha, this time what happened is we had a food shortage, so we went for PL 480 program. We imported wheat, refined grains. Now later phase what happened is we imported it in Western India, where Punjab, Haryana, parts of Rajasthan, Western UP also. This is we did it. What are the benefit here? Two benefits: large land size farm holdings, and third was less rainfall, which equals to less vagaries of nature. वहाँ लगाया और पता चला tomorrow rain started and now you have your crops are gone. In Western India, that much rain does not happen. You will not have a flooding problem. You don't hear that this year you had it because there is a shift in climate, but in Punjab you will not have a flood. In Haryana you will not have a flood. Rajasthan you will not have a flood. Abhi climate, now things have changed. But Eastern India, you have planted and now farmer is coming to you, sir, you told us to plant, now it is flooded, now my fields are gone. So we implemented it here. Earlier we thought that tiller is the owner of the land, he is the farmer, he is doing his own work. If profit happens, then who will keep? The farmer will keep. Here we decided that farmer is not feeling motivated because he says my plot size is so small that even if I have profit, I have to share it with 4 brothers. Now they went for this model. Here the farmer, is he the tiller of the land? No. What will he do? He owns the land, he will hire agricultural labor, they will come from here only. यहीं से आएंगे agriculture labor to work in the fields in Western India. And here we launch. Now the problem before these people was that they say, sir, we will grow, so we will do. But who will buy it? Now think of it, you are growing, it is a perishable commodity. 10 days later, if something goes wrong, then the whole crop is gone. And it's expensive exercise. So for the very first time, what happened in 1964, what did we do? Before that, very good. So in 1964, the government said, Food Corporation of India, 1964. We set up Food Corporation of India. We said, don't worry, tum ugao to sahi, I will buy. I'm not saying there was no shortage. There was shortage, but there was it's like marriage market. There is a huge demand, there's a huge supply, but there's a huge mismatch. People are not able to fit in. Similarly, what was happening, there was a huge demand for food grains. There could be production, but those needs were not met. So you need an intermediary, like Tinder. So similarly, Food Corporation of India. They said that we will procure everything and we will buy from those who are having too much and will give to those who are having crisis. So government set up Food Corporation, don't worry, we will buy, and then they will start giving. So Food Corporation of India, they would be recharged for buying these food grains and giving. This happened in 60s. By 1990s, khel palta. We started, for the very first time, we started to get benefits of mechanization. Slowly. Which means instead of 20 people, now work will be done by 1 to 2 people. Think of it. You are seeing JCB machines. They are easy replacement for 50 laborers. What it can do in 1 hour, labor will take 20 people will take whole day to do it. So think of something like that. Plus we started getting benefit of chemical fertilizer, pesticide. That much loss was not happening. Food Corporation of India. So by 1990s and early 2000s, the game paltoed. For the very first time, a PIL was there in the Supreme Court under Manmohan Singh government, when it was said that, sir, Food Corporation of India is buying the food grain, but it is throwing them or keeping them in open field. They don't have place to keep it. So when Supreme Court told the government that if you are wasting it like that, then I will order that you distribute it free to the people. But by that time, by 2005, you had one more thing. When did the Food Security Act come? 2000? नहीं 13 में आया था हाँ, but उसके पहले नहीं 13 कि पहले एक इनिशिएटिव आ गया था, ठीक है. बट एनीवे, so what happened is Supreme Court made this order in which the Prime Minister responded that already rural economy is collapsing. Nobody is buying because हमारा अंत्योदय योजना 2 रुपए 3 रुपए 4 रुपए PDS is very successful. Public distribution system is successful. So nobody is already buying. They are only taking free. So rural economy has collapsed. And if you do free distribution, then it will further collapse. Now, by 2013, we had one problem by 2010 itself, but by 2013-14 we had this few problems, such as we were food surplus. रखने का जगह नहीं और अनाज हमारे पास. We had bumper production. ठीक है. We had bumper production. We had no storage to keep it. And now we had started seeing unintended side effect. Why did we create these high yield varieties? To meet India's food security needs. Two levels of needs. One was national food security, which means desh mein having enough food grains so that people can, the whole population can be fed, one. And second is at individual level, so that so you will, if you read about poverty in your books, you will get a chapter that how do you measure poverty. Then you will see calorie consumption was a parameter. What was the parameter? Have you read something briefly about it in your economics class or any other class that we measured poverty? Itna calorie hai to garib, isse kam calorie hai to, by that parameter, why we have to do away? Otherwise, by that parameter, Shah Rukh Khan will be poor. Right? He is an actor. Will he be eating so many calories? No, वो पता चलेगा कि वो अपना 600-800 कैलोरी में he is managing. He is a billionaire. So do you see how antiquated methods we had? How everything, the tables turned. So we used to have these discussions that this much calorie if he's consuming, then he's poor. If more than this, then he is. So that was the measurement of poverty line. By that measurement, a lot of you who are very conscious about your health, you will be poor by Tendulkar committee and those committees. By that, because you are consuming less calories, because you are very conscious about your health. And so the richest people will also be poor by that criteria, because now they are not consuming as many calories. We used to measure this. Now what happened is by 2013, we had some unintended consequences. Do you realize that one of the things that we did was we increased the calorific value plus calorie density of food grains. We had done this. What was the purpose? Was it done on purpose? Yes. We wanted that. The government thought that even if I give one muthi of rice, itna calorie mil jayegi 24/7, he is satiated, he is full, and he is not going to die of hunger. We had a hunger death problem. We did not, I think the last hunger death happened in 2017 or 18. After that, hunger death has not happened in our country. But hunger death was common, which is why you will read that around 13-14. India was compared to sub-Saharan Africa, that people in India died just like they die in Africa because they have no food. So this was a major prerogative for our country. So we have caloric value, and now what we have? Several other challenges. What is the first challenge? India replaced China as the diabetes capital of the world. Right now, we are also, the second problem is obesity. In 2025, for the very first time, UN declared that we have as many obese children as there are malnutritioned. तो अब वो गरीबी के दिन पूरे planet के लिए खत्म हो गए. But this is not the case. Unintended consequence of this green revolution. Now millets is a superfood. Why is it more expensive than rice and wheat? Higher production cost. Why? We have not done any engineering, nothing has happened. So we are still growing it like the old times. So you're throwing it only this much is coming, so higher cost is there. Second is that the area under cultivation is very less, because by way of state effort, it was only done in Punjab, Haryana, Western UP, this rice cultivation. So you will get this question that, and it led to several other challenges. So first is with respect to health, diabetes capital, obesity, and third is what you are having an emerging health pandemic, that is fatty liver. ये तुम्हारे समय ये question आ जाएगा, because this is a hidden pandemic, which means Every second Indian is suffering from this, but they are not aware of it. So few things that have broken the myth is, one is to 2025 report of this, and I think it is 2024 or something, but ICMR, I think, the body, I'm not sure if this is the body, they said for the very first time that the risk of fatty liver disease in the Indian continent, because majority of our calories or calories are coming from what? Carbohydrates. इसलिए देखा होगा प्राइम मिनिस्टर ने भी कहा कि कार्ब्स कम करो, सीड ऑयल कम करो. ठीक है, दिस इज नाउ, ये तो हुआ अनइंटेंडेड कॉन्सिक्वेंस की डायबिटिक कैपिटल ऑफ द वर्ल्ड बन गए. And they said that this is, ICMR report said that this is the primary reason why diabetes type 2 has and insulin resistance has crept in our continent. So you see some food policy. And initially what was saying कि you eat rice and wheat, इसमें power होती है. It was also मतलब even biscuits that had sugar, they were promoted in advertisement कि इसमें है चीनी की शक्ति. अभी ad दिखा दोगे तो boycott हो जाओगे. But ये ad होता था 90s, early 90s का, इसमें क्या है? तो चीनी की शक्ति है और लोग उसको खा लेते थे कि इसमें surplus production. Now, second unintended consequence. Now think of Punjab and Haryana. What some unintended consequences happened? First is, do they consume rice? No, they don't. So there is a shift in agricultural pattern. Who eats rice? Eastern India. Eastern Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and Bengal and Assam. They will eat rice and they will cultivate rice. इनको rice से मतलब, they don't eat rice, they don't consume rice. But what did you do? You shifted cultivation of rice from erstwhile Eastern India to what? Western India. Now how will you have the, now water, rice is a water intensive crop. Very good. So because of this, what happens is, how did you do it? By groundwater irrigation and by some place canal irrigation. Now for these states, what happened? One is, okay, you can say soil salinity increased. What else? Groundwater, two challenges happened. First was decline because of free electricity. तो देखोगे है ना. Second was that we used chemical pesticides and fertilizers, so it contained trace amounts of, was it uranium also? Trace amounts of uranium, so you have groundwater contamination. And it led to high cases of cancer. You have a cancer train in Punjab, or है ना? Groundwater depletion. And third, if you see, now what happened is, conventionally agriculture was always done with what? A farmer is there, he will not do simply agriculture, he will do one more thing. What does he do? How does he get his milk and all? Animal husbandry. Very good, correct answer. So earlier, conventionally, we were doing, agriculture was supported with animal husbandry. Whatever is the excess feed, who will take it? The cattle will take it. Cattle's excreta will be manure for the fields. It was an organic relationship. Now you don't need cattle. You don't need their manure because you have chemical fertilizer. So manure ki zarurat nahi hai. So you don't keep cattle. Now you're only doing farming. So because of this, what happened is, now few things will happen. You don't have animal husbandry at all. You only have free. Now, approximately, if you see, September, October hai? Haan, October, if you see. So where is the, let us say this June to October and October to further June, let us say. How many seasons do we have in agriculture? Rabi and Kharif crops, 2 crops. Let us, है ना? So in June, what are you sowing? Kharif, that is rice. And here what you are, yes, Rabi crop, that is wheat. All right. Now the problem is that if you want October, November, December, this is the time for, right now, you have to make sure, yes, you have to cut the Kharif crop so that you can do the sowing of Rabi or wheat. This has to be done at least latest by December or something around that time, you have to do it. Now, even before December, October, November, in these months, you have to do it. Now, the problem that is happening is, yes, very good. So now the problem that is happening is, people are harvesting and the stubble is left, which would otherwise have been eaten by goat. They eat the stubble, but now you are in a hurry. Why you are in a hurry? Because you have to go for planting rabi crops. So you are simply harvesting and simply burning the stubble so that in 1-2 days the whole field is cleaned. What is the solution? You will say that, sir, then why are they harvesting late? If they need more time, such as to manage the stubble, why don't they sow early so that they harvest early, so they will get more time? Right now the farmer says, I don't have time, I have to plant the rabi crop immediately, I have hardly 2 days time. So what will he do? He will burn. And natural suggestion is that you will ask him, why don't you sow early and then you harvest early, take 15 days to prepare your field for the next crop. But what is the problem here? You have groundwater depletion. Government and babus and officers, everybody thought that the only way to prevent this groundwater depletion is to ensure that farmers don't extract water. But you can't stop farmers from doing that. You are giving MSP only on rice and wheat primarily. Even if there is MSP on other crops, it is not matched by actual procurement. Okay? So there is a difference. Like I will say that I will buy your copies, notes for 2,000 rupees. Now everybody is studying, but I will not buy it in later. But everybody will study, right? So that's what's happening in farming. But in this, actual procurement happens, rice and wheat ka hota hai. Now because of what happens is, in June month, the government doesn't want farmers to extract water. So what you do is, but if there is no water, then how will you plant paddy, rice? So for that, you wait. So Punjab and Haryana, they have found Punjab and Haryana Water Preservation Act. Water subsurface. Subsurface. What does subsurface means? Below the surface. Water Preservation Act, which forbids, what subsurface water preservation, which forbids, for example, kharif plantation before notification by the government. So under this, what happens is, government notifies the date after which you can go for your paddy plantation. And when will government notify the date? When the monsoon has come. So that once monsoon has come, you have said that now you can plant. Now farmer, does he need? Already his field is full of water because it has rained. So now will he extract water from the ground? He will not. But for that, what is the problem? You have to wait and wait. You will go by IMD and then you will wait ki kab hoga, and sometimes what will happen, and therefore early what used to happen in April and May. May itself people would do flood irrigation and they would plant. Is this clear? They would do flood irrigation and they would plant, because you have extracting. Now you said you can't plant it in May. You will give the date in June, and you will want ki jaise wo date aaye, uske aspas there is rainfall so that they don't extract groundwater. So therefore, because of this act, it leads to late sowing, it leads to late harvesting. When this late harvesting is there, so there is no time for preparing the field for the rabi crop. So this leads to stubble burning, and this will be responsible for Delhi air pollution. 2 महीने वेट, 1 महीने वेट कर लो, अभी समझ में आ जाएगा. आधे बच्चे मास्क के साथ आएंगे. Unintended consequences of something that is late harvesting. Now you have less time because you have harvested late. You started mains preparation late, so your mains preparation will end late, and you have to prepare for prelims. So what will happen? Time will be less. You will do things that transition is easy. So that farmer is also worried about his next prelims. So he is saying कि mains मेरा late हुआ है, तो क्या कर रहा है? He is saying कि I am getting no time. 2 days में I have to start preparing for prelims. So he will burn the stubble instead of. Government कहेगी no, you cut it, I will give you subsidy. वो कहेगा मैं इतना कुछ नहीं करूँगा. हाँ जी साहब, वो भी मिस कर रहे हैं लास्ट में. ठीक है, उसके कारण दिल्ली में एयर पॉल्यूशन. So this is the whole story. There are various other dimensions where this will have implication on food processing and every other industry. But for broad purposes, everybody has understood this story? Yes or no? So you know that how food policy of India has led to emergence of health pandemics. Will you be able to write an answer? Yes or no? You understand this? You write this? So this is also one very big example of, let me try to use if superpowers are working. Yes. Yes, unintended consequence. This will always be an outcome of public policy. में होता है ये. Yes. Criticisms. Yes. Measuring what, such as, for example, happiness, welfare, development, satisfaction. For example, in Green Revolution is an example where you had difference between intended outcome and intended outcome. Chalo achieve हुए, we got the intended, but we missed out on a lot of things. Use of Green Revolution, or for example, burning fossil fuels as an energy source. है ना? Then there is always this problem of consequentialism, that it is biased. Consequentialism, it is biased in favor of certain groups. Why there is bias in favor of certain groups? Why there will be bias in favor of certain groups? Because the question will always be whose welfare. So this inherently will have, you'll say, sir, we did it for the country. Right? Green Revolution. Now Punjab is saying we don't want Green Revolution, we are having cancer problems, we are having no groundwater. And the limited prosperity that it brought with mechanization, what happened? You have sudden prosperity and no work. What is the problem in Punjab? Don't say you are, it's not a poor state. Punjab, Haryana are rich states. है ना? हाँ? तुम्हारे पास पैसे नहीं हो, that's a separate problem. But Punjab and Haryana, they are prosperous states. We measure income distance from Haryana itself. So what do they have now? Punjab has decent, good prosperity and no work. Why no work? Because earlier whole family is doing agriculture. Now people are sitting and watching, just like they watch JCB do the work. All the labor will be sitting कि JCB कर तो रहा है. दिहाड़ी मिल जाएगा. क्यों? सामाजिक न्याय के नाम पर चार लेबर तुमको रखना पड़ेगा. So similarly, what is the problem? They don't have work. Now in this, and when will you resort to drugs? Gun culture, drugs penetration, partly push factor and partly pull factor. Pull factor also because you are unable to see a future कि आगे क्या होगा, क्या करना है. No industries have been developed, है ना? You became rice bowl, wheat bowl of the country. है ना? Yes. The next, it is consequentialist approach often goes against individual and human rights. Individual and human rights. Such as, for example, so for example, clinical trials. You'll say, why are you trying this drug on a person? You'll say, he may die, but the humanity will survive, will benefit. And a lot of horrible things have been done in the name of good consequences कि तुम्हारे साथ अच्छा होगा. है ना? The Nazi extermination of Jews, it was good for whom? For the Germans, which is why Germans wholeheartedly supported it. The Germans felt that exterminating Jews, exterminating persons with disability, exterminating people born with certain congenital defects, exterminating those who are weak, they must be exterminated because it will be good for whom? Good for Germany. And the whole crowd used to cheer when this used to happen. Right? Why did they invent the gas chambers? To kill them. Because you can kill them, you put them in a room and then you throw a gas and everybody is dead. Think of it. If I have to shoot each one of you with a gun, कितनी मेहनत और गोलियां लगेगी और कितनी और शॉट मिस होगा. So you invent a gas chamber. एक बार भेजा सारा खत्म होगा. Right? So they invented this. Yes. This gas chamber will also go in that ethics versus moral integrity. That evil genius, I had given you a quadrant. So scientists who had invented those gas chambers, for the first time they invented gases. सोचे कि how do we kill so many people? ये दिन भर ठक ठक ठीक आवाज गोली की firing का, we can't sleep because whole night the army is shooting one by one. It takes time also, and then you have to hire people to shoot. So what did the scientists create? They created gas chambers and they invented a lot of gas, phosgene gas. They invented a lot of gases that time which can kill people. So that is the evil genius problem, right? Write down a question or write down a note. Contribution of write a note on utilitarianism. Utilitarianism or contribution of Jeremy Bentham. Write a note on utilitarianism of Jeremy Bentham. Contribution of Jeremy Bentham to the field of ethics. Utilitarianism. Utilitarianism. How do you measure the goodness of something? By its utility. According to Bentham, moral action is one. According to Bentham, moral action is one which produces. Moral action is one which produces maximum happiness. Is one which produces maximum happiness and least unhappiness. Maximum happiness and least unhappiness for the largest number of people. For the largest number of people. Jeremy Bentham, known as the father of utilitarianism, Jeremy Bentham, known as the father of utilitarianism, said that the objective of any action, should be within inverted commas, maximum happiness of the greatest number. Maximum happiness of the greatest number. In bracket you can write Sarvajan Hitay, Sarvajan Sukhay. Sarvajan Hitay, hit of everyone, welfare of all and happiness of all. Sarvajan Hitay, Sarvajan Sukhay. ठीक है? Bentham gave the hedonistic calculus. He gave what? Hedonistic calculus. What does this do? It measures power, measures or happiness, you can say, pleasure or happiness. He said that, how will you distinguish? He said, okay, let us measure happiness. He says, first is intensity. That is, how intense is the pleasure? Intensity. How intense is the pleasure? Think of it like this. Let me break this so that you have the good example in mind. You have been assigned the task of a slum redevelopment. These people are living there, they are happy, and you tell them, I am an officer here, I'm the municipal commissioner, I want you to live happily ever after. So they will look at you and say, sir, we are already happy. He says, no, why are you living like animals with no proper water connection, no proper electricity connection, no proper gas connection? The leader will come and say, fine, what's the plan? So he says that I'm going to redevelop this area. He says, but there are so many of us. In one house, there are 5 people, 10 people living. He said, yes, for you we'll be building a high rise so that the floor area will be less. Now you will see that, and you will get free electricity. He says, what about gas? You'll get free gas. He said, or free pani. Everything is free. Then also you'll see that the slum people, they will not believe you. Right? Why? You'll see that they're not very happy listening to the scheme. Doesn't it sound like a good, fairly good scheme on paper? Yes or no? It's a fairly good scheme. कि यार flat मिल रहा है, 1 BHK flat सबको ये they'll get, and they can live happily ever after. है ना? So, but if you see whether those people will agree or not, that will depend on, this hedonistic calculus. So, for example, intensity. They are judging that how intense is what, how much it will make them happy. Whether they'll be happy on the ground floor in the slum with water flowing outside their house, or they think that इससे बहुत ज़्यादा मजा high rise में आएगा, then they will think. The duration. How long will their happiness last? Duration, or how long will the happiness last? है ना कि next year से होगा कि the 12-month free electricity plan has ended, right? So they will worry about that कि आज तो ये बाबू, this person is promising me, this bureaucrat, but after that the 1 year free electricity, free housing, and this has ended. Now you can register with the government and start paying the rent, right? So the duration. Third is the certainty. How certain is the pleasure? Most people will tell that in that slum, old man, how certain is the pleasure? So most people in the slum will tell that, देखो ये कई बार हो चुका है, इसी बहाने कई slums को खाली करा लिया गया है सरकार द्वारा कि यहाँ पर high rise will be made, and the high rise has never been made. So they will not jump in your scheme. You will think, यार इतना बढ़िया scheme तो I have not been allocated a flat. These people are getting a flat. You will worry about, you will think that. But that person is thinking, how certain is the pleasure? ये नहीं कि पहले बोलेगा पहले घर ही तो करो, and then जमीन पर मॉल बन गया, right? So there is a fecundity, or you can say fertility. How much one pleasure, fertility means thinking of it as bearing a child. So how much will one pleasure lead to another pleasure? How much will one pleasure lead to another pleasure? Right? High rise में रहेंगे तो बहुत ठंडी हवा लगेगी, उससे कितना मजा आएगा? So कोई कह देगा कि भाई ठंडी हवा लगेगी तो you will have sore throat, तबीयत खराब होगा बच्चों का, your cost will increase. Right? Then some old person will say कि what if lift is not there, then climbing stairs you will get foot ache. So that high rise is so good, but maybe you will have, and if they will say, an old lady will come, okay, if for some reason there is no electricity and there is no water, then how we will get the water on 10th floor? अब ये तुमने सोचा नहीं था, लेकिन वो स्लम्ड बंदा सोच कर बैठा है कि 10th फ्लोर पे फिर कहेगा कि बाल्टी से पानी ले लेना नीचे से, है ना? बिग प्रॉब्लम. सो वन, है ना? देन देयर इज propinquity or nearness. How close is the pleasure? How close is the pleasure? Propinquity, how close? You will say that, okay, you leave your ground right now, and in 5 years the red house will be ready. Okay, भाई 5 year कहाँ जाओ? तो कहोगे अपने गाँव जाओ. Doesn't work out, right? How near or how close is the pleasure? Then there is purity. How pure is the pleasure? Or it will be diluted by some other challenges. And the last is extent, or the people affected, number of people affected. He says that this helps us measure happiness, and on this hedonistic calculus we can measure happiness and decide the morality of an action. If the score is very good, it means more people are happy. Happiness score is very good, so it is a moral action. If the score is less, it means he said this is a very simple test he gave. What are the challenges? Write down criticisms. First, happiness is not an objective. Happiness, or critics say that happiness is not an objective dimension of human experience. Happiness is not an objective dimension of human experience. It is, bracket mein you write, difficult to measure. Difficult to measure. Second, whose happiness to measure? whose happiness to measure? In bracket, you write, different groups are affected differently. Whose happiness to measure? Slum dweller or their neighbors? Whose happiness to measure? In bracket, you write, different groups affected differently. Third, how to measure? How to measure the sum total or average? How to measure the sum total or the average or a social minimum? Or a social minimum. है ना? These are some challenges. So these challenges, if you see the Samajwadi parties, they will say Sarjan Hitay, Sarjan Sukhay. Somebody will realize that everybody cannot be made happy. So you will have Bahujan Samajwadi Party. What is this logo? Bahujan Hitay, Bahujan Sukhay. Everybody's happiness cannot be guaranteed. So let us focus on many people, not everyone's, many, isn't it? So these are some criticisms, yes. Let us take another approach, deontology. So this word deon, which means duty. It comes from the word deon, which means duty. Greek word deon, which means duty. Sometimes deontology is also known as duty-based ethics. And its core philosophy is means are more important than ends. Right, hai na? So if you see, according to deontology, it says that morality, according to it, morality depends on means adopted. And not just the ends. Means adopted and not just the ends. Deontologists believe in, they will believe in what? Universal moral principles. They will be moral relativists or universalists? Universal moral principles. They will say that killing is bad. He says always bad. A terrorist, they will say it is bad. Killing is bad. They say under all circumstances, killing is bad. So deontologists will say that in any case of ethical dilemma, in dilemma, what should one do? People should follow what their duty. In a dilemma, people should do their duty. You will ask a deontologist, even if it leads to horrible outcomes, even if doing your duty, your duty is to kill people and it leads to death of people. Will it? Then he says, yes. In case of dilemma, one should do one's duty, even if outcomes are not good. Do duty even when outcomes are not good. It simply says focus on the means. And your means is that you did your duty. It is not the ends. You have done your duty even if the outcomes are not good. This is in stark opposition to consequentialists who say that what is more important is the ends or the outcomes. Haan, bolo? No, so killing is bad. They believe that if there are certain universal principles, killing is bad, so it is bad. Huh. So there are two dimensions to it. The first dimension is that means adopted is important and outcomes, means adopted is important and outcomes. And deontologists say that in case of any dilemma, if you have not followed your duty and you have done something, and if the outcome is good, then it is bad. They say what you should do is, in any dilemma, you should be doing what is your duty. What is your duty? If And even if doing that duty, even if the outcome is bad, then there is no problem with it. So this will create problem for a hangman whose duty is to kill. So you may ask, ki, what will a deontologist say? In this case, the deontologist will stick to doing one's duty. So in this, what has happened is Immanuel Kant has clarified this. One of the proponents of this is Immanuel Kant. Both in Eastern philosophy as well as in Western philosophy, this question has been asked that a man comes running into the class and then he sits in the class. And then somebody else comes with a gun and he asks me, where is he? And he's not able to find him out. Should I tell the truth or should I lie? Tell me, what should I do? Lie and save this person? So both Immanuel Kant, who is a major proponent of the deontological approach and a predominant ethicist of our times, whole current discourse on morality and ethics and justice is based on Immanuel Kant's version. According to Kant, he says, the story is murder in the inn, that an innkeeper is there, somebody comes in, and the logic is, I have read the original text, so I can tell you logic is very superfluous. He says that if that man comes with a gun in the inn and you are the innkeeper, you should still tell the truth. And the question to me is asked, if I tell the truth, he comes and kills the person, then what would it be? He says that is better. That is better, because at least what has happened is you have told the truth and there has been a murder. Immanuel Kant, in the original story, which is not very convincing, original text, he says that what if the murderer leaves because you lie to him and the murderer leaves. And then this person says, thank you, sir, and he goes out. And now he gets caught. And then the murderer kills him. Then now you have committed two crimes. One is the person is dead and the other is you have also told a lie. So, jhoot bhi bol diya aur. So, not a very convincing argument, but that is his philosophy, Immanuel Kant's philosophy. Okay, it's not a very good argument, or it is an imagination. And as he says that in this case, this will be the problem. Deontologist argues that, so for him, he's saying that for him, in that case, whether he should have told his truth depends on his duty. His duty was to tell the truth. His duty was not killing. Now, with respect to that person, he says that, is that person wrong? Yes, he's wrong. Immanuel Kant has no confusion there. He says killing is wrong, he's killing him, he's wrong. He has no confusion in this matter. Write down some positives, pros and cons. Pros and cons. First, pros. It gives importance to means, therefore secures procedural justice. It gives importance to means, therefore secures procedural justice. Niti or Nyay? Will it be Niti or Nyay? Niti, very good. Gives importance to means, therefore procedural justice. Second, it emphasizes value of every human being. It emphasizes value of every human being. Third, it factors in real intentions of person. It factors in real intentions of person and not just outcome. Real intentions of person and not just outcome. Next, it provides stability in society. It provides stability in society because of certainty in human action. It provides stability in society because of certainty in human action. In bracket you write, if every man did their duty, world would be a better place. In bracket you write, if every man did their duty, world would be a better place. And last, it lays the foundation for universal human rights. It lays the foundation for universal human rights. थोड़ा पानी दे देंगे. You could say that you can take this as another, you can relate it to what is often called. So he has clarified this through another example. Now take a simple case that there is a poor man. He is in need of money for buying medicines and food for his ailing mother at home. I repeat, there is a poor man. He is in need of money for buying medicines and bread for his ailing mother. And he is walking in the street. There is a rich merchant or a rich person in the street. And his house is unlocked. And his house is unlocked. So, in such case, is it legitimate for this person to steal a small amount of money to feed his ailing mother and to provide for his medicines? Yes or no? Hmm? It is not. Okay. So this is also known as the Heinz dilemma. I know the Heinz dilemma, which is stealing for. नहीं इसमें for dying I think wife. दोनों में आंसर चेंज नहीं कर लेना कि मदर पे अलग ट्रीटमेंट वाइफ पे अलग ट्रीटमेंट है ना. द अंडरस्टैंड द स्पिरिट ऑफ द एथिकल क्वेश्चन कि सर इन केस इट इज माय वाइफ आई हैव मेड प्रॉमिसेस टू हर सो आई विल सेव है ना टू सेव हिज डाइंग वाइफ. हाँ. So this is Kohlberg's experiment. He said there are stages in moral development. Kohlberg's experiment was there. So Heinz dilemma, Heinz has this dilemma whether he can steal. Now Immanuel Kant has a very coherent philosophy. He says that if the person comes and he says that even to save his dying wife, mother, anyone, or to feed them, according to Immanuel Kant, he says that it is wrong. And he says, justifies that. First is it is wrong because it is wrong to steal. Second, he says that even from a consequentialist approach, it is wrong because if he steals, what if that money was kept by the rich merchant to provide scholarship to children? That is his actual text. Okay, he is giving a scenario. And secondly, if it was for a scholarship or to aid the study of some poor child, and now he has stolen it. The second is that if it is acceptable because this Heinz is poor or this person is poor, then what happens is it will encourage more and more thefts. So therefore, eventually what will happen is nobody will pass by. Will it not restrict the civil liberties of people in that area? Will it not lead to the, he also argued that it will lead to fall in property prices in that area. So overall, it will have bad consequences for the society. Okay? So he has clear philosophy in this matter. So there are some pros and write down some cons. So means are more important than ends, and universal moral rules exist. Something, if it is wrong, then it is ethically wrong, opponentally wrong. And what are some cons? The first is it sets absolute and rigid rules which lack flexibility. Sets absolute and rigid rules that lack flexibility. So it is not flexible. If it is not flexible, then everybody can be moral according to deontology. See, when some morality has to be flexible. Otherwise, only most people will argue that Heinz must steal to save his dying wife. Most people would agree. If you say that, and if Heinz is told, no, you should not, stealing is always wrong, and Heinz does not steal. Do you see, for most people put in Heinz situation, they would steal because it is an existential question. But once you follow the deontological approach, you say, no, Heinz, you should not steal because stealing is always wrong, then people will be able to stick to such moral code? No. So therefore, because it is a strict moral code, not possible. So morality is outside the reach of most people. Then you will say, sir, morality is only the luxury of the rich. Morality is only the luxury of the rich. You don't have to, do not steal is, you have enough, so you don't need to steal. But what about Heinz, who doesn't have enough? So if this flexibility is not in your moral school, then most people will not be able to follow it. That is a problem. So it sets absolute rigid rules which lack flexibility. Second, it overlooks context and consequences. It overlooks context and consequences. Context and consequences. In bracket you write, what good is means if outcomes are poor? Ek coffee karwa denge. What in bracket you write, what good is the means if outcomes are poor? If Heinz loses his wife, is it good? Most people will argue that it is not. What good is means if outcomes are poor. It is the criticism, right? Then next, it allows actions that make the world less human. It allows actions that make the world less human. It allows actions that make the world less human. You give an example. Nazi German soldiers following orders. Nazi German soldiers following orders. Or another example you can give is General Dyer's soldiers shooting people. When they were asked, why did you kill so many people? What did they say? We were following orders. We were doing our duty. Next you write, hard to reconcile duties when they conflict. It is hard to reconcile duties when they conflict. When they conflict. Such as duty as a citizen versus duty as a husband or a father or a son. Then you don't know what to do. Duty as an ideal citizen not to steal versus duty as a son or a husband or a next. It is idealistic and overemphasizes on rationality. It is idealistic and overemphasizes on rationality. Idealistic and overemphasizes on rationality. In bracket you write, humans not always rational. Humans not always rational. Humans not always rational. Decisions guided by emotions. And last you write, morality depends on intentions. Morality depends on intentions. But good intentions may also produce bad results. But good intentions may also produce bad results. Write down a passage. Discuss the contribution of Immanuel Kant to the field of ethics. Discuss the contribution of Immanuel Kant to the field of ethics. Or you can expect this question. ये नहीं पूछा गया this thinker. Contribution to the field of ethics. Write down a few lines. Immanuel Kant the German philosopher, believed. Write individual sentences. What I want is write ऐसे ऐसे करके है ना. Don't write in paragraph. Write like this. Each sentence like this. It will help you pull out content in any question. It will help you better. Immanuel Kant, the German philosopher, believed that a consistent moral philosophy. The German philosopher believed that a consistent moral philosophy can be achieved by reason. Can be achieved by reason. There was no need to look to God. There was no need to look to God. God as a source of morality. There was no need to look to God or consequences. You know. He said something is good. He said something is good / moral if everyone something is good / moral if everyone rationally agrees. Everyone rationally agrees that it is so or it is good. Everyone rationally agrees that it is good. Thus, test of morality was goodwill. Thus, test of morality was goodwill. Test of morality was goodwill. He says there are two kinds of imperatives. Two kinds of imperatives. Imperative मतलब जो करना है, which you need to do. All right? Two kinds of imperative. Hypothetical and the other is categorical. Hypothetical and categorical. Hypothetical are the obligations you have. Hypothetical are the obligations you have because you desire something. Because you desire something. Hypothetical imperative. But a categorical imperative. These are moral duties. These are categorical imperatives are moral duties that are absolute. Moral duties that are absolute. And absolute. And must be done under all circumstances. Must be done under all circumstances. All right. So tell me, everybody, it's clear what is a hypothetical imperative versus a categorical imperative? You should study for 1 more hour. Is it a categorical imperative or hypothetical imperative? Bolo, sir, it is none. A hypothetical imperative. Why? Because hypothetical imperative is one, these obligations are on you because you want to achieve something. That is, you want to clear the civil services exam. So you'll have to finish the syllabus. So that you should only sit in the class because you have a goal in mind. And these are hypothetical imperatives. Karna, you should do it. Is this a categorical imperative? No, it is a hypothetical because you desire to become civil servants. And what is a categorical imperative? It is something that has to be done under all circumstances. There is no reason why it should be done. Such as, should you tell the truth? Yes. Should you keep promises? Yes. It is a hypothetical. It is a categorical. Under all circumstances, it has to be observed, whether you want something or you don't want something. Then he gave 4 principles. Write down. He gave 4 principles. First, principle of universality. Principle of universality. Act in a way. Principle of universality. What is it? Act in a way such that. Act in a way such that your action. Act in a way such that your action can be made into a universal law. Act in a way such that your action can be made into a universal law. In bracket, you write tool, case studies toolkit, CST. Your action can be made into a universal law. If your action cannot be made into a law, then it is not moral. If your action cannot be made into a law, then it is not moral. If your action cannot be made into a universal law, then act is not moral. Second, equality principle. Equality principle. Any law such made, equality principle, any law such made must be equally applicable to all. Any law such made must be equally applicable to all, including oneself. Including oneself. Including oneself. Third is humanity first principle. Third is humanity first principle. which means that people should always be ends in themselves. People should always be ends in themselves and never a means to an end. Never a means to an end. No? If you get a case study question, then use some Hindi terms. Everybody knows what is means and ends. Means is the means adopted, the tools adopted, your method, which is known as, sometimes it is known as sadhan. And ends is what? Very good. Ends is sadhya. Ends is what you want to achieve, and sadhan is what you use to achieve it. What are the things that you've done to achieve it? So what does he say about people? People should be end in themselves. Will, say according to by this logic, young man, do you think he will support clinical trial or drug trial on you or anyone? Let us say there's a terminal patient, so people know that he's anyway going to die, and now some COVID drug trials have to be done. Will Immanuel Kant support it? No, because he will say that human being is used as a means and not as a end. Human beings always have to be seen as an ends. All right? Humanity first principle. And fourth principle is duty principle. Duty. Duty principle. Which means do the right thing. Do the right thing because it is the right thing to do. Do the right thing because it is the right thing to do. If you are doing it for any other reason, in bracket, reward slash punishment. If you are doing it for any other reason, in bracket, reward slash punishment, in bracket, reward slash punishment, then you have not acted in a moral way. Then you have not acted in a moral way. Write down a book excerpt. Write down a passage from a book. Guru Charan Das, just NOT note, write down note. Guru Charan Das, in his book, The Difficulty of Being Good. Guru Charan Das, in his book, The Difficulty of Being Good, narrates the story of a young man who had come to the beach, with his co-workers, to enjoy. When there was cry for help by a drowning man in the sea. When there was a cry for help by a drowning man in the sea, डूबता हुआ आदमी समंदर में, cry for help by a drowning man in the sea, the young man jumped to save the drowning man. He was celebrated as a hero. He was celebrated as a hero. He was celebrated as a hero. Later on being asked why he jumped in the sea to save a stranger. Why he jumped in the sea to save a stranger. He said he had done so. He said he had done so to impress his friends. He had done so to impress his friends, comma, one person in particular. To impress his friends, comma, one person in particular. Das argues that Das argues that the Saving Act thus done was not moral. The Saving Act thus done was not moral because it was done with intention of a reward. Is this clear? So किसी को impress करने के लिए कोई बहुत अच्छा काम कर लिया हो तो, है ना, किसी को impress करने के लिए कुत्ते से कटवा लिया, है ना, कुत्ते से डर लगता है लेकिन जाकर फीडिंग कर रहे हो, है ना, तो एकदम मत सोचना कि कोई पुण्य मिलेगा कि बहुत बड़ा डॉग फीडर है ये, है ना. So in such case, tell me now our position. This is the contribution Immanuel Kant. Tell me now what is our final position. We have seen the criticism also of the deontological approach, right? What will be your answer? Imagine a case study, a very simple case study where Delhi winter is there and there are two of you, two friends selected, you know, one in the IPS, the other is in the IS. So you have gotten court orders to undertake anti-encroachment drive. The modus operandi, having worked in the government myself, will be very clear. Minimize media coverage plus minimize fatalities. So when will be the best time? At around 4 a.m. will be the best time. When nobody is there, almost everyone is asleep. 12 बजे दिल्ली वाले सोते हैं, आइसक्रीम खाते हैं जाड़े में भी, ठीक है. So they'll be out, young people, है ना, जैकेट वैट पहन के देखोगे कि आइसक्रीम खाने निकले हुए हैं रात में. So आइसक्रीम वाला will also be there. So generally you'll have to do this at 4 a.m. Now there'll be two of you. One of you is saying कि इसी, this is the reason why. So you have all JCB and tractor and all is ready, so that so when you do anti-encroachment, you try not engage with people. You simply want to remove their encroach, as in their huts and everything, throw it in some place so that they cannot rebuild it. This is the whole operation, right? So in such a case, one of you is very happy. He says that this is why I have joined the service, and if somebody protests, you will get the right to do lathi charge and all, and there are a lot of policemen, everybody is assembled, hai na, 3 baje they are waiting for you to arrive. And there is another person, let's say he's in the IS. It is not appealing to him. The other friend is saying that, yeah, this is not what I signed up for. You know that at 4 a.m., it's really cold. It's like, and you're aware that it's going to be the coldest winter ever in North India as of now. So they'll be homeless, and you're aware that this winter can take lives of people, and they're young people and children. Also, the ones who are encroaching, they are aware of it. So they will push women and children to the front, so that if any life is lost, it's of a child, or this will also push the police forces backward. This is a strategy in any encroachment. You'll push women and children so that the damn police will always have a bad name that women and children are being hurt. And so you know that some damage will happen. So one of you is very happy, the other is, but you have a court order, which means that there is no sunwai. It's not like an administrative order. What will you do? How many of you will undertake the encroachment drive? Raise your hand. Or how many of you will refuse the orders? Well, refuse the order, batao. Raise your hands, it's okay, participate. Batao, you'll raise your hands, yes, everyone take a side. Okay, how many of you will refuse the order? Left hand you raise. And how many of you will carry on the order? Raise your right hand. Raise at least one hand. What will you do? Huh? Bachi, aap batao. You'll refuse to take orders. Why? The court will call you next day. He will not call you. He will call the commissioner of police the next day. He will say that since when did armed forces and the administrative machinery have a mind of its own? If it is going to have a mind of its own, then God save the nation, God save the democracy. Isn't it? The rule of law has to be there. When that act is given to you, The point is not, so you will say, but what is the argument you will give? I'll refuse to take orders. What will be the argument you will give? This is what everybody will write. You have to justify, give a good justification. Yeah, so that office goers are also there. उसके बाद तुम्हारी वीडियो बनेगी, फिर पूरा देश मम्मी का फोन आएगा कि बेटा कहाँ तोड़फोड़ कर रहे हो. सुबह ऑफिस लोग, people are going for office, they have stopped and everybody is making your video and media has come, and now instead of that 200 people, now there are 2000 people, and you earlier bought only 50 policemen, now you need the whole district and your commissioner is calling you कि आपका चयन कैसे हुआ है ना? Yes, very good. So I have told you in case study, do you remember I have asked you that in such case, follow what is law, and second is minimize the damage, unintended negative consequences. I have used the unintended that is your position. Is this clear? Now more than that, what will you write? Write down a write down a note, NOT note. So whenever you're going to disobey duties, you need to have a good argument from an international convention or something. Write down a note. Everybody has studied world history. What fabulous world history. You know, the what is called the Palace of Versailles, such a historic place where the German unification would take place. And German unification, you are aware of the story of German unification? So, under Bismarck. So, which was the leading principality? It was the Prussian. The king of Prussia was told by the other German nationalities that you become the emperor of Germany and here take the throne. So the king of Prussia did not want to be the emperor of Germany when he was offered the throne. Why? All these German principalities, they came together, says we are German speaking people and you are the largest kingdom and the most powerful. So the king of Prussia was offered to become the emperor of Prussia and he refused to take the crown. Why? And then he unleashed Bismarck. He says, tum jaakar collection karke aao. You will integrate Germany, not these people who have come with her. Why? Because if you take throne from the people, if you take the crown from the people, they can also take it away. So he pursued the policy of blood and iron. In the Palace of Versailles, the final fate for unification of Germany was there. This would lead to unprecedented strength of one nation, that is Germany, which would lead to much later the First World War and humiliation of Germany. And in the same Palace of Versailles, Germany would be forced to sign war guilt. कि लड़ाई किसके कारण हुई है? Germany, and war reparations. So see how things change. Write down a line. In the Nuremberg trials, Nuremberg. In the Nuremberg trials, when German officials were tried for war crimes and crimes against humanity. Crimes against humanity, little. In the Nuremberg trials, when German officials were tried for crimes against humanity, they defended their actions by saying, we were merely following orders. They defended their action by saying that we were merely following orders. However, this was not accepted. This was not accepted, and they were held liable for the crimes setting a precedent, setting a precedent in international law. Setting a precedent in international law. Is this clear? So when you have a position, young lady, that I'm not going to follow the orders, then you have to give some credible answer that when in Nuremberg trials, when not German, you say Nazi German officials were told that you have committed so many crimes, you have exterminated Jews. How many Jews? 6 million Jews is the official estimate which the Israel claims that 6 million Jews were exterminated. And you should be held liable for it. What did the soldiers and the general say? That we had gotten orders from our government. We serve as a bureaucracy or as a armed forces. We loyally serve the government in power. And therefore, we serve the government and we'll serve the next government. We'll do what is given orders. But when the allied powers, in international law, it became a precedence. It was this alibi that we were merely following orders was not accepted, and they were punished and tried for crimes against humanity. So when you are writing this argument in your case studies, whenever you're going to violate a law as a public official, please have a strong reasoning. Don't say that compassion, empathy, ये सब बातें मतलब लिखना, लेकिन last में your closing line has to be recourse to international law where Nuremberg trials has established this principle. When that merely following your duty is not enough, justice also has to be ensured. है ना? And also this is all for today, but also understand Immanuel Kant's principle is most relevant for your case study as well as everywhere. You quote him, he is the most predominant thought and a guide to how public servants should behave. You see the principles that he has given. The first principle is universality principle. He says that, and this is a general framework you can apply in making any ethical decision. You can use it in your own life as well as in every case study where if some action is there, should the TT let the lady be? Now you look like a hardcore, or a complete discompassionate person if you throw the lady out. But then when you're going to write something, please write this one line that in this case, Immanuel Kant says that such actions, if they cannot, well, look, my action, you have thrown the lady out. Now you need to have a justification. You cannot say that law has to be supreme and I'm a public servant. You have to write those, but your strongest argument will come from Immanuel Kant's universality principle. He says that the fundamental, why will you throw out? You'll say justification, that if on grounds of compassion, if the old lady is allowed by the TT, then what you'll say, you apply principle and say that if more and more TTs allowed ticketless travelers to travel in the train without a ticket, then will the train travel and the world become a better place or a worse place? And then you say, then it will become a worse place. And therefore, I will have to follow the law. You have this. The second is equality principle. Where will you apply this? You will apply this anywhere where you are also a subject, which means your decision is going to affect you also, such as your house is there and the land and a road is to be built and you are not going to get adequately compensated. What will you do? Then you will fight for those principles and you will say that where you are also a stakeholder. All right? So you will try to, the third principle that is yes, humanity first principle. That whenever you are going to treat humans as so in every argument you can say that this approach treats the person as a means and not as an ends. You can always use this. Is this clear? All right, so that is all for today. Tomorrow, which example? Yes, Priyesh, which example? The Nuremberg trials. Nuremberg is the name of a place. So in this place, the Allied powers convinced, there was no international law as such. This has all evolved in the past 150 to 200 years. All developments are post-industrial revolution. So this international law development, it was a major thought that if somebody in Africa has committed a genocide and later says my dictator president told me, then I will not be able to do anything. So this established a precedent. So now generals know that if my governments tell me to kill the people, should I kill or not? They know that in international law, later some international action will happen, then I will be tried for crime against humanity. I will not get the excuse. I will not get the excuse that I was merely following orders. Guru Charan Das, his example is that of deontological approach, categorical imperative. Guru Charan Das, when he cites this example that this person wanted to save a life, not because it was do the duty because it is the right thing to do. He did not save the life because it was the right thing to do. He saved the life because he expected a reward. He expected the attention of another person. He wanted to impress someone. If you're going to do that, then it is not, है ना, it is not a moral act. Then it is a, then you have, it is not a categorical, you have followed a hypothetical. You're expecting to be, to get the attention of other people. So then it is a, it's you have not acted in a moral way. In remember that in the categorical deontological approach, the intention is very important. What was the intention of the person jumping in the water? A, to save the person, or B, to impress other people. If the impress, then according to Guru Charan Das, it is not a moral act. All right. So we'll consider any questions that are troubling you in any test or any assignments that have been given to you. Yeah, you are not applying your mind to the question. Anybody? Okay. This question is asked in that assignment. Very good. So tomorrow we'll discuss this. Moral intuition and moral reasoning. Thank you, class. Any of you have any questions, you can also write to me. ये पुराना ईमेल एड्रेस है, इस पर लिखो. मेरे पास बहुत सारे बच्चों के इस पर मेल रहते हैं. I have 5 rank 1 mails on this email address before they got rank 1. और help desk type के मेल नहीं है. Please generate my roll number ID, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. है ना? But just sometimes a small thank you note. Civil services के नहीं, across all exams. Forest और हाँ बच्चों.